Yeah. Wait here for it. Greetings. It's live from Texas, actually, because I think all three of us are in Texas. So, live from Texas, it's Saturday night. It's Horror Hangouts. And how's everyone doing tonight? I'm joined by quite a bit of a regular. We have Alistair Sharkwater here. How you doing, Alistair?
I will defend Halloween Ends with my life.
I
It's
can't
okay,
wait
I'm
to
on your
get to
side.
that. Yeah, you have an ally tonight, and I did not expect that. So you guys might have me outnumbered, I think. And of course, making her return, we have from Mindy's House of Horrors YouTube channel, and also known as, and I know I'll butcher your name on Slasher. It's Sex Metal Harley Quinn Goddess something or other, right?
It is Sex Metal Harlequin Doll.
That's what
So,
rock and roll is all
also
about.
known as Harlequin Doll. So,
Yeah, we got so of course we are coming up on the Halloween season. So what's
what?
any yeah, I know it's that time of the year. This month has flown by fast. Of course I'm like now on my official Halloween vacation. I always take the week of Halloween off from work whenever I can because most people want to take Christmas off, Thanksgiving off. I always take Halloween off. So but
There you go.
what's everyone? Yeah, what's everyone's plans? Anyone any special plans for this Halloween, Mindy?
Taking my child trick or treating, and I'm actually okay. So the past few years, we have not been here to give candy out to people, and of course, my house is always the only one decorated in my neighborhood. So, and everybody gets really like I watch like on our camera, watch the kids cuss us out and everything. So I got a plan this year to actually give them candy. So pumped about that one. Hopefully, nobody will tear up my decorations any more than they already have.
Um, what about you, Alistair? Anything special this Halloween?
We have a Bluey costume for my son, and usually it's we see what we can do on the day of. It's pretty crazy around here. There's usually a lot of events, so we'll pick something out.
Very good. I know with me, both my kids now teenagers. My oldest one, my daughter, still likes to go trick or treating, even though she's 16. But hey, what the heck? And I'm fine
Free
with
candy.
that. So yeah, she'll be out. She'll be out with her friends. So I'm glad they're now at the age where I don't have to take them anymore. I can just kind of chill. My son, who's 14, he prefers to stay home and just hang out, hand out candy, and he'll just hang out in our front patio area and do that. And I'll come out for a little bit, help him. But most part, I'm going to cook a big pot of chili like I always do for Halloween and watch a bunch of the Halloween movies, which brings us to our topic tonight. That's Halloween. It's interesting. Just yesterday was the 46th anniversary of the release of the first Halloween. I don't know how I keep on doing this because we did our Hellraiser discussion. It just happened to fall on Clive Barker's birthday that we did that. And here we are on the 46th exact, almost exact
You
46th
planned
Yeah.
this.
anniversary of
You planned this.
It fell in perfectly. There you go. It's fate.
it's the only thing I'm ever lucky at. It's not
Well,
anything else, I
go
assure
to the
you.
casino, man. We'll find out.
Well, sometimes I do pretty good in the casino when I go to Vegas, but my wife's actually luckier there than I am. She's hit some big jackpots the last few times we've gone. So, of course, that's also where we got married, but there we go.
Ooh.
But
I was supposed to get married in
so
Vegas.
Halloween, the
That
first.
didn't happen.
I think you told me that story. You blacked out or something like that.
I'm missing 4 days. So, but it's all good. I'm
Yeah.
married now. Got married on Halloween on a full moon, so it was even better.
Yes.
And like we got married like right outside a house that looked just like the Addams Family house, like it actually did in like color and
Oh yeah.
stuff. And we got married on the front line right as the moon like came up, and like had a funeral wedding. I had like this black gown, and everybody had to wear black to my wedding. So it worked out a lot
Excellent. So
better.
you'll actually be also celebrating your wedding anniversary on Halloween as well.
Yep. Yep. This will
There
be
we
four
go.
4
It
years.
is nature adapting to your awesomeness. That's what I say.
There you go. There you go. I like that. I'll have to keep that in
4.
mind.
I've been at it for 16. Well, it looks like we have a viewer. So if you're not too shy, go ahead and type in the chat and say hello, and make sure to like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. So getting on to the Halloween, it's like the big, kind of like the first big franchise, I guess. Well, actually, you would say Texas Chainsaw Massacre would be the first to start a franchise, I guess, even though their sequel didn't come until a good 12 years after. But to be the prototype of the modern slashers, even though you could go back to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Black Christmas, Bay of Blood, but it was one of those movies in '78 that it wasn't a big hit right away. It was like one of those word of mouth type of things that spread because it didn't have a wide release. It just kind of, I think it debuted in
Yeah, it
Kansas
was very
City,
low
of all
budget.
places, and
It was,
it just
yeah,
kind of.
it was low budget, but it ended up being one of the
They
most
made it for like,
successful slasher movies of its time.
Mainstream as well.
well, yeah, and the
Usually-
most successful at the time independent film too, until I think Pulp Fiction, I think was
I mean,
that
Terrifier
was like the
has
one that
also
unseated.
just
Well,
been
yeah,
incredible.
Terrifier. So,
But,
of course, written. Go ahead, Alistair. What's your thoughts on Halloween?
No, horror movies before, they always had that grindhouse type vibe, but this is, I think, it was more the most mainstream introduction into
Mm-hmm.
what franchise, and then Friday the 13th followed after that.
Right, just a couple of years after that, and of course, it was directed by John Carpenter. He wrote, and I think Deborah Hill co-wrote with him on that, and of course, it launched the career of Jamie Lee Curtis, who, ironically, her mother Janet Leigh was, of course, in Psycho, as we all know, in that famous scene. So there was a little bit of a lineage there, and of course, co-star to me the backbone of that movie, and really throughout the first, well, I'd say 5 of the first 6 movies, was Donald Pleasance as Dr.
Perfect.
Loomis.
Yep.
To me, the series has never been the same without him. But
Definitely agree with you there. Definitely don't
But
like
he's
the
the guy
one
that-
that
yeah,
what was it? That in Halloween in 2018, the doctor that replaced him or whatever. Oh my god, like I get on my nerves.
At least he had the twist where he
We-
was evil.
This is
well, we'll get to him in about an hour or so from now, or how long it takes us to go through this. But there isn't much to say. It's just a great, it's not a gory movie at all. I think the only blood you might see is in the beginning part where he kills Judith, his sister. You see a little bit of blood there, but outside of that, there's very little blood in the whole movie. It's really much more of a suspense stalker type of film than it is when you look at the sequels and some of the other slashers that came after it. But that's kind of the brilliance of the movie, is it makes you think you just watched a gore fest when really there was hardly any blood whatsoever.
definitely agree with you there. The first one, after watching all of them so many times, the one part that cracks me up is where that one doctor is talking to Donald Pleasance. And like this is after the night where like all the patients got out, they're out in the storm, they're
Mhm.
like walking around and stuff like that. He's like, telling, Dr. Loomis is telling the doctor, you should have had higher security. And he's like, you should have told everyone. I'm like, he spends his whole entire every movie telling the story, and this doctor has his patients walking around anyway. So I mean, whose fault is it really anyway?
Yeah, and that's like the
always makes me
story. Is like
laugh.
no one ever believes him, even though the evidence is pretty clear. Were you gonna say something, Alistair, on that?
I can jump on, but there's definitely the vibe like, come on, are you really that serious? But he knows this dude. This is pure evil in the eyes.
You really, I sometimes wonder. I wonder if they looked at when writing that character, and maybe not, maybe it's just coincidence, but he's very much almost a throwback to like the Van Helsing character in the Dracula movies. He's the one guy who knows what's going on. He understands what it is that they're dealing with. The only difference is Loomis doesn't really know. He knows it's pure evil. He just doesn't really know how to kill it, really.
He is the Ahab to the Moby Dick.
Exactly. Perfect. And
he's
of course,
definitely one of my favorite.
Yeah. And wouldn't you want Dr. Loomis as your grandfather? I mean,
right?
I would love to.
That would
have
actually
him
be.
like,
I would. That would be pretty badass. I'd have to admit that.
I'm used to unstable family members. Nah.
He'd be the fun or the fun uncle that's telling you all this crazy shit that you got better beware for or whatever. which kind of goes along too. I mean, this is the characters by and large are well written, and I always look at like the three girls in there. You have Lori and her friends, Annie, and then Linda. And I think all of us always look at those characters, goes, well, one character, at least from me, and I look at Lori, well, she'd be like my friend, my next door friend, perhaps. Linda's the one yeah, you're hot, but you're kind of ditzy. Annie's always the one that I would say she's the one I would date out of the three for sure, because she's kind of smart, kind of cute, but sassy, which is kind of like my type. So kind of reminds me of my wife a little bit.
Her last name actually is Loomis.
Exactly.
Nancy
Loomis, right.
I don't know why I always see that first thing. That's the only name I actually see during the titles.
You know what? I'm wearing a Goosebumps shirt. I am horribly underdressed. Give me 1 sec.
All right, you go. Yeah, change into your Halloween shirt here, because I got my shirt. You got the mask. I can't.
I got a bunch of characters on here. I do have Michael on here. I should have worn one of my other Halloween shirts.
You got. That's all right. This is the only one I have. Well, the only Halloween shirt that I have anyway. So.
Oh Lord, you know me. It's Halloween year round in my house, so I got Halloween clothes for days. I could probably wear a different Halloween outfit every year for 2 years. I have 4 closets full of clothes.
Yeah, I need to up my game on my my horror movie T-shirts. It's I have Halloween, Friday, Hellraiser, Nightmare, and It. So I've got 5. So and Predator if you want to count Predator. So that's 6 that I've got.
Count Predator.
Yeah. Well, I guess while we're waiting for her, I'll at least show this here, because you see my Halloween 2 print that I have back here, but
Love it
here. This I had autographed at a horror con in Denver, and this is Danielle Harris. Of course, played Jamie in Halloween's 4 and 5. So she's a really cool person to meet in person. So that's
you met Jamie Lee?
No. Danielle Harris, who played Jamie Lloyd.
Okay. For some reason, I was getting confused, but no, I actually have the autograph of Jamie Lee Curtis from one of the Halloween movies. It's in my autograph book, and don't even ask me where that is. But I have a whole album that has all the different horror movies, and then people that I have what's his name that played Chucky, and then I have I don't have one from Hellraiser. I have a few different ones.
There, he's
But
got his Halloween shirt
I
on.
am properly
there you
dressed
go.
right now.
There you go.
I see you grabbed a tall boy as well.
Yes, that was.
He grabbed a bottle of wine earlier. It's okay.
Yeah, I got like a bottle of vampire wine here. So
There was a fight earlier, so I'm still recovering from that. I'm trying to fix that right now. Anyway,
oh, that's right. You were watching UFC.
I was indeed.
Excellent. And of course, we can't talk about Halloween without the amazing score, which really just adds to the whole atmosphere of it.
Done by John Carpenter himself.
Yes. And he's one, he hates talking about his movies, especially Halloween. But if you want to talk to him, from what I understand, talk about his music or talk about video games. That's the stuff I guess Carpenter likes to talk about rather than having to go back and talk about his movies or whatever. It just gets real grumpy when you ever mentioned Halloween. But
Have you ever seen the movie Rise of the Synths? It's about.
Sounds very familiar.
I've heard of Revenge of the Sith.
No, it's a documentary on synthwave music, but it's narrated by John Carpenter.
Awesome.
No, but I love all the music. The Midnight. There's let's see, Wolf Laser, like a whole bunch of synthwave bands. Dance with the Dead. But you know, synthwave and rock music, they're both deeply connected with horror films.
Oh, definitely, for sure. I just watched a few nights ago. I watched Suspiria, which Goblin. That might be. It's definitely in my top 3 as far as best music scores in a horror movie, with Hellraiser's score and of course Halloween score. I mean, I think it's right there in that top 3. I can't say which one I like better, but they're all 3 great, and that's of course has a little bit of synth in it as well. So I mean, what was like all right, well, what was the first time that you can remember watching the original Halloween? Either one of you.
God.
Alistair, if you want to go first, or ladies
Middle
first.
School. Middle school. I rented it from Hastings, old school video store. But it was honestly the perfect movie. Like, there was no flaws. It was incredible. Like, you see it, and it's like when you see a classic for the first time. It blows your mind that something can be that good. And then the music, acting, you know, a very like simple story, all around, just like perfect.
Yeah, can't get much better. Mindy, do you remember where you were?
I was about 7. No, I take that back. I wasn't 7. That was when I watched it. I was about 10, and I was staying at one of my so-called friends' house. These girls, they were really, really mean. They liked me to come over to sleepovers to do like tricks and stuff, like to put toothpaste in my hair and just stupid shit. But the girl's older brother, he introduced me to Korn, and like he was an artist, and which I'm an artist, and so he would sneak me into his room while they were off doing stuff, and we'd sit there and we'd listen to Korn and stuff, and we'd just sit there and draw, and like loved it. And he introduced me to Halloween, and so I was about 10, and like I remember chilling in his room. Like I would just disappear. I mean, it was a pretty big house. I would just disappear into his room and like hide from all the girls. It's the only reason I've ever went over to their house when they invited me. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of like when I watched Edward Scissorhands when I was a kid. Yeah, movie. I was 4, and that was my very first horror movie. But it was just like one of those that like everything about it just was so perfect. It just, I don't know, it's one of those like, you know, those feelings that you get. I don't know how to describe it. It's just you just fall in love. So I was 10, and after that I just continued sneaking over there just to watch movies along those lines.
I was, and the thing is, I can remember when the movie came out, and of course, I was 4 years old when that movie came out. Obviously, I didn't see it then. That would have been awesome. But a funny story, I remember my mom and dad went to go see it, and I guess my dad ran out of the theater after the first 5 or 10 minutes, which just shows you what a pussy he was. But anyhow, I can say that because I won't get into personal, but me and him never got along, and no wonder why he couldn't handle 5 minutes of Halloween. I mean, what the hell? But anyhow, I saw it when I was about 13, I think. And what it was, I can't remember which station it was, if it was WGN from Chicago or TBS from Atlanta, one of those super stations or whatever. They were showing Halloween and Halloween 2 back to back. And so one night I got back just in time from trick or treating to watch those two movies in my room in a little 13-inch black and white television. And yeah, talk about, people there probably don't remember what's a black and white television. Well, used to be not out.
Those ones that are in like the wood and everything.
Yeah.
They ended up becoming an entertainment center later on.
I remember those big, huge things there. But yeah, I was the same way. I was like so blown away by it because I watched horror. It was kind of my introduction to modern horror, I guess, because up to that point, I had watched all the old 30s and 40s and seen some of the Hammer films anyway. Had seen Jaws, so maybe Jaws was my beginning into modern horror, but certainly into slasher. And this showed me something different, and I was just so kind of blown away by the whole pacing, the way the tension built up throughout that movie, that it instantly became a favorite. And it's like on my, I would say there's 3 horror movies that really kicked me in the gut on first time watch. Halloween's being obviously one, but the other 2 being Jaws and movie we talked about a few weeks ago, Hellraiser, were like the big 3 for me that kind of changed my life, kind of. But yeah. And of course, speaking of that double feature, we get on to the sequel a few years later, Halloween 2. And this
1981.
Yep. And this kind of like ups the game a little bit because there is a lot more blood, a lot more kills in it. I think it's like it is to Halloween what like Bride of Frankenstein was to Frankenstein, and Hellraiser 2 is like more of a continuation than it is a sequel because it's all happening over the course of, the same night. It takes over right after the first one ends, and
does a little recap.
Yeah, you have a little bit of a recap, and I always love the line at the beginning when that neighbor comes out, goes, "I've been trick or treated to death," and I mean, I think this is the best line in the whole movie, and Loomis goes to him and says, "You don't know what death is." I just love that line, and you know what? That just shows who Loomis is. I think that whole line, but it's damn near. It's almost as good as the original, I think. But what do you guys think of Halloween 2?
Were those Letterboxd reviews accurate? The ones from John Carpenter, the ones where he said, "I took all the money, I got drunk, and then I broke that piece of shit." Was that real?
I mean, for whatever reason, Carpenter does not like Halloween 2. He didn't direct it, though he did come back and direct a few scenes that they had to reshoot. That was directed by Rick Rosenthal. But really, the whole cast and crew, Dean Cundey still does the cinematography, which we didn't mention. His cinematography in the first one was excellent. Carpenter wrote the score this time, talking about synth, a lot of synthesizer in this score as well. But yeah, he does not like Halloween 2. So.
He doesn't like these so much that he literally thought that after this movie, this was all that he could do with Michael Myers. And that's why, and we'll go, of course, get into the third one in just a minute, but that's why the third one is the way it is, because like they literally thought that like they wanted it done. And then now we have 13 of them, which of course, some are directed by other people such as Rob Zombie and everything. But I mean, yeah, him and Deborah Hill, they really thought that this was it.
I
So-
maintain at the end of the very latest one, he could still come up like the T-1000, like from Liquid, just build himself back up.
We're gonna get to that. That's an interesting thought there. I kind of think, it kind of think if you think about Halloween's the only, well, not the only movie, but in Carpenter's catalog that got a sequel. I correct myself already because Vampires did get a sequel, but I don't think Carpenter was ever involved in that one.
Escape from New York.
Well, you're right there too. I correct myself again. You got me there. Escape it from LA, yeah. But for the most part, like, I don't think a lot of these directors don't want to do sequels. I think in his case, it's a horror movie that he did. It was good, but he's the type of guy who wants to move on to different things.
Maybe that's
And-
why it is the way it is, and there's like 5 different ways to watch all the Halloween movies.
Listen, you talk about different timelines. Okay, you get me. Ooh, you get me going.
We're getting there.
I made a roadmap for myself like last night just to make sure I got it correctly.
I will say this, of course, like I said, I was like 13 when I saw the first Halloween. Then, of course, I saw Halloween 2 back to back. And I just want to say at 13 years of age, the character of Bud was my idol. That little song he sings about Amazing Grace is just the best. Amazing Grace, come. I won't finish it, but
Yeah.
there were-
I love that when Lori gets taken. Of course, this is on Halloween night, so everybody's been partying it up. But you can tell it's such a small town because they have to call the doctor in from a party, and they're like giving him cups of coffee. He's like drunk as shit.
Well, you know who he reminds me of? Did either one of you two ever see Cannonball Run?
No.
You never saw the Cannonball
Sounds
Run.
familiar.
One or two, no.
But you know how
Okay.
bad my memory is, so
I know. Homework assignment then.
I
You'll
understand.
have
Gotcha.
to watch
I'll
the Cannonball
let you-
Run and the Cannonball Run too, because there's a doctor who's always drunk and he's sticking needles in people in places they don't need to be stuck in.
Oh Lord.
And that reminds
The
me
needles,
of the doctor.
that's literally like my only fear in the whole entire world, needles.
Yeah, let me stick this in you here. This
Oh
will-
Lord.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
that's
definitely
the
gonna
type
get
of
me.
guy you want sedating you with a needle. But there were
I
some,
mean, they're like giving him one cup after another, just coffee. You
I
can
used
tell
to
he's just
donate-
smashed.
I used to donate plasma for cash a lot, so like
Oh, shit.
deals are nothing, no big deal for me.
I was a very sick kid. I had to get a shot once a week in order to breathe because my asthma was so bad, and so I had like a really bad like experience, and it just like needles since then. I go into like panic mode.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all good.
I think my favorite part of well, one thing, Halloween 2 though has maybe the most competent police officer you'll ever see in any horror movie, because after Brackett obviously goes off the deep end because he discovers his wife is or
Annie.
not his wife, his daughter has died. The deputy Hunt comes in and he's actually pretty rational. He's actually listening to Loomis like, okay,
Yeah.
you're saying this burnt corpse.
He's like one of the only people listening to Loomis, and like, of course, Loomis is getting blamed for all this shit again.
Right. And he's like, yeah, he's like they kind of like because like when they find that burnt corpse that they not sure if it's Michael, and the guy that
The
Ben
kids
assist-
run over.
yeah, Ben Tramer,
That
we all
part
determined.
gets me. Like they're like, there he is, and like a cop car like comes and like rams him into an ambulance and catches fire, and then it's like, okay, they realize it's a kid, and then nobody shows any more concern about this kid.
No, yeah, I know. Like, well, Bucket. Well, that's because they
They're
realize
like,
Michael
okay,
Myers
whatever.
is still out there. Well, that's
It's
You know,
like
I
in
gotta-
part 4 when they end up shooting out that one kid. It's like, oh no, it's not Michael.
No, it wasn't the kid. It was like that old guy. It was like some
Mhm.
other. Well, they never really say what age that guy is, but Ted Hollister. That was the guy. You didn't kill Michael. That was Ted Hollister. And we'll get to Halloween 4 because I love that one
Uh,
too. But
uh, yeah, there's been numerous times where they think that they kill him, but yeah, that the one that the like Loomis goes to shoot him, but then a cop car comes and like slams it into ambulance. That was actually a kid. That was like one of the kids that was out trick or treating with everybody. Why on earth he would dress up as Michael Myers though in Haddonfield during Halloween? I mean,
he
come on now.
wasn't dressing
Yes.
up as Michael Myers because they didn't know his
And
mask.
that was
He was
it was like
dressing up
a
as
Captain
William
Kirk.
Shatner.
It
Yeah,
was a Captain Kirk mask, but it was still spray painted white.
No,
yeah.
Because the
So
original Captain Kirk mask was not spray painted
it
white.
was
They
not.
actually did this for this movie.
No. Let me. I'm going back. I'm going deep. I'm going deep in
okay.
this. It was not Captain Kirk. It was from the movie Devil's Reign, because there was a scene. William Shatner was part of the movie, and there was a scene we had to infiltrate a cult, and there was a scene they had to make like a mask of it, and so they thought, okay, we have this mask, let's sell out the mold. We'll just sell it, and then bam, the creators did it white, did it for Halloween.
I always thought it was a Captain Kirk mask, but I
No,
learn something new every day.
I recommend Devil's Reign because not only was the mask from that, but there was an extra in the movie that discovered Scientology. That extra who got that career resurgence was John Travolta.
You said it's what? Devil's Reign?
Rain.
Yeah, that one also.
And what
had,
did you say earlier? Oh, you can't see who I'm pointing at. Okay. What movie did you say? Canon what? What?
Devil's Reign. It also had.
Well, no, yours is Devil's Reign, but you said yours was Canon. We needed to watch Canon what?
Cannonball
Cannon
Run.
Run. Cannonball Run. There you go.
Cannonball Run.
Yeah, you can ask. I have like I started having like really bad memory problems about 5 years ago, so like my short term memory is horrible.
There's the Cannonball Run and the Cannonball Run 2 stars Burt Reynolds, Dom DeLuise, if you remember him, but I think everyone knows Burt Reynolds. So
Yep.
Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin, they had everyone in there. I'm gonna you guys talk about yourselves for 5 seconds or 10 seconds. I'll be right back.
Yep. Devil's Reign also had Tom Skerritt and Ernest Borgnine as the leader of the satanic cult. But I recommend it because
I love satanic cult movies, so I'm all about that.
I'm always worried. I'm super susceptible to anything. So cults, I'm worried like I'll get sucked up in one.
Cults, conspiracies, like I'm all about like those kind of movies. That's like all that plays around my house is like either documentaries or like horror films. So I'll definitely check those out.
Oh, manly horror films, man. I like finding the new stuff. I gotta I like specializing in like the rare stuff that people may not have maybe seen.
Yeah, I'm also a big Alfred Hitchcock fan. I have every single one of his films, and like I even have like some like 1930 projectors and stuff. Like I just need like the actual like film, but like what he would have been like showing them on and stuff. Yeah, like I'm all about. I actually have Alfred Hitchcock. I have like a Funko Pop of him somewhere up there. And my daughter, this wasn't even planned. Oh no, wait a minute. I'm talking about Albert Einstein now. She was
That's
born on
fine.
Albert
Go
Einstein.
on,
I
go
went from
on.
one to the other. I don't know what, because he's up there too. I have Albert Einstein up there too. But yeah, it wasn't even planned. She was born Albert Einstein, big fan. I don't know. I like Alfred Hitchcock and Einstein are like my two idols. They're up there. Sorry, that was so random, but yeah.
Listen, I go off on tangents all the time. Don't worry about it.
I think we all do. I had to leave because my dinner finally showed up. I can eat that later.
Did they finally get it?
Well, yeah, they sent it
Did they
on
correct
the
it
porch.
for you?
Yeah, everything's good. So, yeah, I was like telling her before we started the show, I had ordered something at 4:30 in the afternoon, and here we are at 5:45, and the food still hadn't gotten here. And I'm like, they didn't get the order. Well, you charged my card, but anyhow, food's here, so we're all good. Doesn't matter. I'm kind of drinking my dinner right now. This will be a late night snack, but
My
anyhow.
last birthday, I'd ordered whiskey, and it was like 3 hours. I was watching Joe Bob Briggs, and I was like, I had to run to make sure it wouldn't interrupt my viewing schedule.
Hey, if you like whiskey, I have a bar in there with 147 rare bottles right now. So if
We
you
are
ever
on
are
our
in
way.
Dallas,
I'm coming in from the northwest. Alice will be coming in from the south. We should get there about the same
my
time.
husband collects rare whiskeys, and so I actually bought a bar. It's like an old, like antique bar that we have in the theater, which we have a giant living room that we turned into a movie theater that's got a bar inside it now. And like, I mean, I got it all set up. But yeah, if you like whiskey, I am not a whiskey person. I've only had whiskey one time, and that was Booker's 21, and that was only because my daughter had just been born in 2021. And so I went out to Hattiesburg, Tennessee, and got a bottle and brought it back because like the going rate here was like $800, and I got it there MSRP for $99.
Wow.
There's a little store out there. I'll have to send y'all the information on it if you're ever out that way. They like sell stuff like really rare stuff that would be hundreds of dollars for like what it actually should be. And so we make a trip out there once a year and stock up.
Yeah, I'll buy the decently priced stuff, and then I'll make my own homemade dragon fruit syrup, and then just mix it in, like the sweetness.
See, I may actually drink whiskey with that.
Yeah.
I love dragon fruit.
All right, that's it. Because I know that we have several other people on the Slasher app that live in Texas. We just need to have like a Texas Slasher
There we go.
meetup or
San
whatever.
Antonio or Austin, we all gather together or something, man.
Yeah, because that's like
Sounds
Austin's
good.
like the most central. So yeah, we could. And I know there's a couple that live in Austin, in the Austin area. So
I love Austin. I mean, actually,
Me
my
too.
nephew lives down there right now, and I actually need to go down and visit him. So we've been trying to plan a trip out there. So yeah, definitely. Y'all let me know when. I'll be there.
The springtime when the cold goes away.
Sounds good.
All
All
right.
right.
oh really? I mean, it's kind of like during the winter. Austin's like the fall. So
Last time I
True.
went to Austin during October, the day I had to leave, everything froze up. Thankfully I had that North
Right.
Texas knowledge to defrost everything and shit. But that was scary.
So anyhow, we've talked about alcohol, food, delivery issues, and whatnot.
We're veering.
All the
We're veering off the path.
bootlegging and all this stuff. So on to Halloween 2, still probably anyway, it's my second favorite of the series for sure. I think
Yeah,
very
it's right up there with one.
Yeah, and there's some people like my son. That's his favorite. He likes it a little bit more than one. I was like, what was your guys' favorite? There's a lot more kills in this one. My favorite kill is the hot tub kill, or the maybe not necessarily a hot tub, but where because
Yeah, where the guy comes out to like check the temperature because she goes, it's too hot. He goes, but it's cold out there, and she's like, well, it can get cold in here. He's like, gotcha.
But yeah, that was a guy that got grueling one there because she's literally dunking her head in that boiling water and her face.
Oh, and her face just starts melting. Oh, yes. You know me. The more gore, the more I love it. I love unique kills, like stuff that you don't really see that often. Very unique kills. That's my thing.
I would ask about Terrifier, but we're on a Halloween podcast. So.
We should do a Terrifier one though, because I could talk about that one.
Not a bad one. I haven't seen the third one yet. But
did you see At Least Smile too?
No.
I want to. I need to.
I did see Scream a few weeks ago. I ended up purchasing it on Amazon, and that is really good. Because that Damien Leone did the makeup, the effects for that one. He didn't direct it, and of course that has an all-star cast in it too. Jeffrey Combs, Daniel Harris, Dee Wallace, Tim Curry has a cameo at the in the mid-credit scene.
Uh-huh.
Imagine Tim Curry and Bill Moseley in a scene together.
Oh.
Yeah. End credit scene, but it was worth it.
Is it VOD or is it streaming anywhere?
It's basically on demand. You can purchase it
VOD.
for on a few different. I purchased it on Amazon for $20, which is fine because I would have easily spent that much had it came to a theater near me, and I would have went and saw it. So I'm fine with it, and it was worth it. So
I have a subscription to which I have to pay it overseas in order to get it. But all the films and stuff that end up in like movie theaters and stuff like that, like I can see them before they even end up in movie theaters. So I get everything a little bit early.
So yeah, for the most part, I've been binge watching for the month of October, all my favorite horror movies of the past leading up to Halloween. And obviously Stream was a exception because I hadn't seen it, but I wanted to see it. In November after Halloween, I'm going to go back and watch all these movies that came out this year, or at least most of them that have my interest, because there's a lot of them I still haven't seen yet. Like, I haven't seen the one where the guy in the woods movie.
Oh, In a Violent Nature.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but I'll watch it.
I will say super quick review. It starts off fun, but it's strange because the closer it gets to the end with the final girl, the slower the pace gets. Normally it's the reverse. But
normally they start off slow and get quicker. Interesting.
Yeah. But I also recommend Lisa Frankenstein. It's a fun.
That's a good one.
I
love that movie.
I want to see
that was real good.
I want to see The Substance. I hear The Substance.
That one was really good too. Yeah, I mean, you know me. As soon as they come out, I see them. Like, I'm having to go back and like watch some from like the 30s and 40s right now because I'm like kind of ahead of the game right now.
Oh yeah,
but
sure.
I don't have any local friends who will like go with me to theaters day of. You know.
Yeah, that's why I built my own theater here.
Excellent.
I'm that person that nobody wants to go see movies with because I sit there and critique the crap out of them.
The friend
I have a tendency to do the same thing sometimes. So I normally will keep my mouth shut until after the movie goes, all right, they did this, and wrong, and blah, 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 blah.
See, I have a bad habit of pointing out like little details, and I'm like, okay, they did a double take right here, and they didn't get the blood correct right there, and they're like, nobody else would see that. I'm like, they need somebody to pay like more detail to this crap. I can see it. That means other people can see it too, and if they're not paying that good of attention, then that's on them.
That's the thing. If we ever make a slasher movie, we have our makeup effects person right there. So.
No,
I would love to get into that.
Dude,
that would be my dream.
As far as writing, I am super up to date on like how to use not only create the outline, but also use AI to assist with that stuff. So
see, there we go. We can do this. Yeah. We can make a movie.
We have hello to Devontae. Thanks for joining us tonight. We have one person watching. I think there are 2 people right now showing, but thanks, Devontae. Hope you're doing well. We're kind of talking about Halloween, and then we got off track here.
Off the route here, yeah.
So let's get off to, I mean, we talked about Halloween 2.
All right, let's go on to 3.
Yes, Halloween 3.
Season of the Witch.
The King of Men, Tom Atkins.
How can you not like Tom Atkins? I mean, here's my thoughts on Halloween 3, then I'm going to let you guys go. I'm probably like, I feel like I'm like an endangered species now. That I'm like something you see in the zoo goes, oh, look at that thing. You don't see too many of those anymore. Because I'm like one of the few people that now still does not like Halloween 3 by and large. And it's not for the reasons that people will say, well, you just don't like it because Michael Myers in it. No, I just don't like it because I think it's paced poorly well. I think the
Yeah.
villain comes across as a cross between Mr. Burns from The Simpsons and a very bad James
Kinda
Bond
does.
villain knockoff. Okay, he's like kind of like Dr. Evil or something like that. Well, I get this ingenious plan here. I'm gonna blow
Just
everyone's
don't
heads off. And I just think it's
I,
corny. But
I don't
that being
understand
said,
the Irish route. So, but yeah, because I mean, later
Spring.
on they go into more like Norse mythology,
Mhm.
like when you get to like 5 and 6.
Right.
So,
Well,
like,
it's not meant to be part of the whole
and
Michael Myers
and
thing.
it's not because like I said, at this point, John Carpenter and Deborah Hall, they just thought that's all they could do. So they wanted to go back and kind of
Mhm.
show like the anthology of, you know, Halloween and all this other. But like, I mean, we're talking about a Irish witch coven that is
Mhm.
wanting to mass murder children. It's just. I
kinda
don't
think
know.
John Carpenter was
I
fucked
have
up when he
my
wrote that script too. No, but I'll say this: Halloween 3 is far, far from being the worst in the series. It's probably in the middle for me for the most part. Um, Tom Atkins carries that movie. Without him, that movie was
it
very
would
well
yeah.
hated
The drunk
back in the day.
womanizing doctor here we
Doctor.
got.
Every, he's the person that every man wants to be and every woman wants to be with. Well, Mindy might not think so. She might not think this stash, but
You know me, I am an alpha by far. So me and somebody like that would not get along.
In the
But-
latest Halloween Ends, when they introduced the Doctor, like for a second, I lost my mind because I thought, is that Tom Atkins? Ah, It wasn't Tom Atkins. But for a second, a glorious second, I thought it was Tom Atkins.
that would have been so epic. And we're gonna get to what I
Do you know they actually carry on? Okay, so these masks and stuff, the silver shamrock mask or whatever,
Mhm.
actually in Halloween in 2018 and Halloween Kills,
kill.
they both have those masks. Like a lot of the kids, probably like 75% of the kids are wearing those silver shamrock masks.
The witch, the
Yeah, for a
skeleton, and the
movie
pumpkin,
that wants to pretend that none of the sequels
It
happened,
had
they
nothing to do
still-
with
I will get to my critiques of that later, but I will say this: it's a very well shot movie. It's got a lot of tension. In the score is terrific, and Tom Atkins just hams it up. So he alone makes the movie at least watchable. It's not my favorite in the series. I don't, it's like I went to bed one night in 2010, and everyone hated Halloween 3, and then I woke up the next morning, and all of a sudden everyone loved it, and I'm like, okay, what
This is the
happened?
only witch coven I've ever seen that has robots. Like,
that is my favorite fan theory. That one of the Michael Myers from part 4, 5, and 6, one of them was an android. That's one of my favorite fan theories.
Okay, I like that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but what were your guys? Did you guys enjoy Halloween 3 overall?
I did. The only thing that that gets me every time, which they later on explained that the guy was a robot, but in the very beginning, okay, so the first guy that ends up in the hospital, right? So the robot goes in there to kill him. He covers his mouth and he first goes up like this, like he's gonna punch him, right? And then he goes like he's gonna pinch off his nose, right? But then he goes in and he like pulls this bone up and later, pulls the bone up and then like wipes his hand off like on the curtain, like he's got blood, like it was like a really bloody scene. But if you go back and you look in that scene, there's no blood at all. Like it just bugs me. It bugs me how like they just did that. I'm like, first of all, like I can understand if he held his mouth and he pinched his nose, but like breaking this bone, he's not going to instantly suffocate.
Or I like how that one guy gets decapitated by one of the robots. Where just grabs his head
Yeah.
and just pulls it off. I'm pretty sure you can't.
And
I don't know if
he
that's
like
how it
crushes
works.
like his yeah. I guess they have like a lot of like power because they're robots. Which I mean, that
Yeah.
robot once he leaves the hospital, he goes into the car, pours gasoline on himself, lights himself on fire, and you're kind of
Yeah.
like, what the fuck?
It took me 3 times watching this movie
confused.
because I would have to stop. I could only watch so much of it at a time. It took me like 5 hours to finally get through the movie because I kept on pausing. I'm like, I need to like find some weed or
And
something
then
here before I finish this movie.
Also, the light that comes from these things, how it misfires and it blows that woman's like mouth open, and which you can tell it's like wax dummy or whatever, and then like spiders start crawling out, and then when they kill the kid, like they had snakes crawling out. I'm like, okay, so this light, this beam is supposed to like kill these kids and melt them pretty much. And they instantly, all their brain matter and everything instantly turns into snakes. And like, it just,
Oh yeah.
I feel like they could have done something else there.
It is for Stonehenge. What don't you understand about it?
I understand. And like they say that they brought Stonehenge in, and like it took them forever to bring Stonehenge in and everything like that. And, but that does not look like Stonehenge, first of all. And then the way was it like they used to have to sacrifice their children, and that's why they're doing all this to these children here in America and blah 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 blah. But I don't know. Like there's just so many things I would have corrected, but I still like the movie. I don't know. I'm sitting here talking trash about it, but I still like it.
Get crazy. I think that's why a lot of people like it. But anyhow, Season Witch is what it is. It's off to its own little universe, and this is where the universes kind of go off the rails. But we get back to Halloween 4, and Alistair, you didn't miss or probably missed this, but I was going to. Speaking of Halloween 4, I showed Minnie this earlier. This is my autograph from Danielle Harris, of course, played Jamie in Halloween 4. And I have like some sentimental attachment to Halloween 4 because it's the first R-rated horror movie that I saw in a theater. So I'm always going to love that one. That one I like. To me, that's the ultimate Halloween trilogy is 1, 2, and 4. Because the way 4 ends, it ends with, think about how the first Halloween starts. Young Michael.
No, Michael at 6-year-old. Yeah.
And then here we are. Everything comes full circle with his niece, basically doing the same thing, only to her stepmother. And it even
didn't kill her though.
According to
we don't find out until later. Yeah.
Yeah. But at the time, we really didn't know.
5, but yeah.
And then Loomis taking out the guns, like, no.
Oh, he was gonna blow her away. He's like, I'm sick of this shit. I'm sick of this boogeyman crap. And now Michael's jumped to this girl, and I'm fucking ending it right there. That's what he was gonna do. And there's another good cop too in that movie, Sheriff Meeker. Because as soon as Loomis goes and tells him what's going on, at first he's a little bit hesitant. Then he's like, nah, fuck this. Let's get the guns out and let's hunt this bastard down. So he's kind of a competent officer of the law for the most part.
But then Loomis uses the crap out of Jamie. That's the only time I do not like him as a character.
In part 5, I don't like him, but
he's rough.
He's we'll get to 5 here in a little bit, but what was I thought 4 is like my third favorite of the series. I like the opening. A lot of people talking about the opening because you got that Halloween decorations, got that fall-like looking opening, and you get when they're going to take Michael and transfer him, they got that creepy guard there talking about saying, what was the line? Goes, one guy says Jesus or something like that. Goes, Jesus has nothing to do with this place or something along those lines. And
Also, my favorite mask of the series.
Oh,
Well, I wouldn't
really?
go that far, but
It
okay.
is more cartoonish than any of the others.
It,
But
it was.
yeah,
I was gonna
And it
say
looked
that's
like
probably one of
Michael
my
had
least
shoulder pads
favorite.
on, maybe. Looked a little awkward. Yeah, they got the look. I mean, that's my one critique of the
You
movie.
could tell they changed the look, definitely. The return of Michael
My two
Myers, yeah,
Mhm.
my
it came
two
back
critiques
cartoonish.
is the look of Michael a little bit. I wish they would just kept him with his face bandaged up. Because
Mhm.
remember the scene where he still has the bandages around his face and he kills that
Yeah, from the
mechanic
fire.
and
Yeah, I
yeah.
understand.
I love
It's
that.
My
That's
other
one thing
critique
that I
is
love
they kind
about
of
that.
cock
Like
teased us with it.
he has to have that jumpsuit, right? He has to have like the jumpsuit that every auto person like would wear. And so what's
Mhm.
his first task once he like, escapes, what's his first task to go find out the nearest auto shop
He has to
and
have that.
take
He
the
just has
outfit.
a he obviously has a fetish for wearing auto mechanic onesies,
Whatever floats your boat.
basically.
I,
Hey, I like onesies. I mean, not the auto mechanic ones. But I mean, onesies are pretty cool.
I also have to say, I think one of my favorite aspects of it's the scene at the gas station where Loomis finds him and he says, "Listen, take me, just spare the people." It
Mhm.
was always my thought that he has spared Loomis to show him the extent of his failure.
Oh wow. I never thought about that because he never really ever
I like
intentionally
that.
tries to kill Loomis. He
Mhm.
stabs him in second one when Loomis tries to blow him up, and which, by the way, is one of the best fire walking scenes ever from Halloween 2. We didn't talk about that. Um, but you're right. I mean, he throws him through a door or whatever, like in Halloween 4 through a piece of glass, but he never really tries to kill him. And you're right. That's an interesting point. I never thought about that. He keeps Loomis alive so Loomis can witness, I guess, his
Everything
own failure, perhaps. That's
like
interesting.
it's like having him alive and thinking, what could I have done was worse than just killing him outright.
I like that. The only critique I
Yeah.
have is just a thing that they just didn't pay detail to. Okay, so towards the very end, when Michael is after Jamie,
Mm.
and right before Rachel sprays him with a fire extinguisher, there's a
Mhm.
scene where his hair is all white before she sprays him with the extinguisher.
Mhm.
And like his hair is just like you're wondering why the hell his hair is like solid white. And then like she comes out with the extinguisher afterwards and sprays him, but then right after that his hair is back to brown.
I know
Just
it is
saying,
like
that was like one thing that
I
bothered
think
me.
the
I'm
lore
like,
is somehow they put why would you even have a mask on set anyway that has blonde hair? But my one other critique of the movie is us guys and maybe girls too that like to see boobies. Kelly Meeker. There's a
hell yeah.
scene where you had a perfect opportunity and we just see maybe some side boob and that's it. I'm like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Damn it. Had they not done that, that movie I would have given that movie a 9 out of 10. Instead it gets like a 8.5 out of 10. But
I don't know if you've seen this show, Holliston, but Danielle Harris was a guest star as like herself, like a fictional version.
oh, awesome.
And the main character was like, "I've had a crush on you since Halloween 4." And she said, "Since I was like, you had a crush on a 10-year-old me?" And he said, "No, I was the same age."
Yeah, because she
Uh,
does show up. We'll talk about when we get to the zombie movies because she was in the zombie movies. I always like, that's the thing. That's like, well, we'll get to this because I looked at her character as Jamie. And it goes to show with horror movies, if you can
mhm.
connect with a character in some ways, I would look at Jamie as if she was my younger sister in a way. So you do end up, and I would look at like the character of Rachel as being, well, I'm the oldest of three, but as that maybe that teenage um, like babysitter that we all had that we kind of secretly may have had the hots for, maybe not, but
Mhm.
I
yeah,
don't know. Babysitters I had were bitches.
yeah. I had cool ones because they let me. I had one. I didn't mention this before, but I had one that made let me watch Dark Knight of the Scarecrow. If you guys have seen that movie, because as
Oh,
you remember, that was a made for like it was on CBS or whatever, made for TV horror movie, and still one of the. It's getting a resurgence of popularity because it's like one of those movies that you saw as a kid, then forgot about, and now it's a movie that everyone really loves. So I remember, yeah, a babysitter I had goes, "Oh yeah, you can stay up and watch this with me." All right, cool. But
See, I used to have to. That's how I watched Edward Scissorhands. I had to sit in the
right,
back of the room and like hide and like watch it. But yeah, my babysitters like they did actually what they do in the Halloween films. They used to bring their boyfriends over all the time.
mhm. And I'll
I was gonna
say
say
this,
when I was a babysitter, I never did that. But
but with
I mean, I
Halloween
was a
4,
horrible
one thing,
kid, but I still never did that.
but also the one clever thing I liked about Halloween 4 is how it foreshadowed to the ending when she's trying on different costumes, got that clown mask, and she looks in the mirror and sees like the Michael as a kid in the mirror, also dressed up with a clown. That kind of like foreshadowed what was going to happen if you didn't realize it at the time. And I do like the hillbillies going around forming their own little lynch mob and end up shooting someone
There,
by
yeah,
mistake. It was kind of funny.
that's why I don't like
they should have
vigilante.
brought them back in the last one.
That goes to show you that even those, because I grew up in Indiana, of course, this takes place in Illinois. Rednecks aren't just in the South; they are
I
up in the
grew up.
Midwest.
I grew up in the backwoods of the backwoods. Like
I
so,
knew people like
I've
that
seen
that would
plenty of those.
we're gonna go up in our pickup truck and shoot these guys. I loved how Michael would just tear these guys out, rip that guy's throat out.
Right.
But I liked how Rachel, I mean, she's one of the best, maybe the more underrated final girls in the series
Mhm,
because she's kind of a badass in Halloween 4 there towards the end, where she just
mhm.
gonna run this motherfucker over.
Yeah, she's
Sorry,
I
done
my
think
light
it's
went
why a
out.
lot of
I
people,
love that.
including myself, were pissed off that they killed her off in the first 10 minutes of Halloween 5, which
I'm
I
gonna
guess we
confess, I got scared when the light went out on your side.
I know. I forgot to plug it back in. Yeah, because
that's cool.
I have mirrors back here because it's where I actually do my sets and stuff. So I
Mhm.
have different ways so I can see myself on set since I take all my own photos. But if I have my main light on, it glares off of this and then like goes like it's a direct hit to my phone. So I have to have a different light on.
Yeah, but overall, I think Halloween 4 is,
One of the
like I
best.
said, it's my third favorite. I think it's become a favorite for most people. It was a return to form. I think it's very well written story. It's pretty much like I said, they didn't try and reinvent the wheel. They put couple little twists in it. Um, I like the scene of the old preacher that picks up Loomis as he's like trying to find a ride and he's drinking his fucking
That guy is
beer.
great.
They needed to do a whole movie just of that guy.
They should have had him like show up in a
Loomis
few
and the
other
priest going
ones.
off together. You could have had him
It's
like,
like you're hunting the evil.
I mean, he was almost like he could have been like the crazy Ralph of the series, kind of like in Friday the 13th. Almost remind me, you're all doomed. You know,
Don't go to Haddonfield. Haddonfield.
I've been hunting that bastard for years. And that's like a scene that I don't know if they meant for it to be humorous, but it was like one of those unintentionally funny scenes in that movie. And that's when humor works. And I'm going to get to when people try and put too much humor into a horror film later as we talk about this series. But that way it worked.
You're
But
talking about one of the best Halloween Resurrection.
I'm gonna talk. Oh, we're gonna get into that pile of dog shit later. We talked a little bit on the Hellraiser, but on the Hellraiser series because I watched. You had missed it, Mindy. I had rented Halloween Resurrection on the same night that I had rented Halloween or Hellraiser Inferno. So talk about a double feature of bullshit that night.
Yeah, Resurrection's one of those movies that you just I mean why the hell they brought Busta Rhymes?
I will say this. It beat the YouTube culture by about 10 years. It was ahead of its time.
Oh, it was ahead of its time, all right.
I mean,
trick or treat, motherfucker.
we'll get into all that. We'll get into all that.
But speaking of Halloween 5 now,
all right, the
now
revenge of Michael Myers.
Has a tattoo. He was he
okay,
didn't
yeah,
die
that's
in
what
the
he does.
explosion.
We were talking about that earlier. That's what he does in his spare time. Is he goes out and gets tattoos that mean absolutely nothing. Because this is the ruined symbol for Thorn, which associates with the god of Thor, and then it stands for protection, defense, and
yeah. So the
something else.
The whole symbol doesn't even mean what they say it means in the movie. Then essentially, is what based on.
What about his twin? They got matching tattoos. Well, almost matching. They're both ruined symbols. Who's the stranger that's walking around with the other tattoo? The other ruined symbol.
We find out in Halloween 6.
Yeah, but I mean, his stands for dawn.
No.
Well, come on. It makes absolutely no sense.
The whole movie doesn't make any sense.
Notebooks in high school, like.
This is what you have.
Back in high school, I used to draw that S, where you do like the 6 lines and then you connect them. That was. You could tell I was from the 90s.
No.
I didn't draw all ruined symbols.
I'm gonna say this about Halloween 5 though. Loomis, of course, is totally unhinged. Daniel Harris has been on the record saying that scene where he gets close to her, what do you think he's going to do with that? That she could, and she didn't even know what it was because she was like only 11 when she did the movie, but she could smell what smelled like to be gin on his breath. So needless to say, Donald Pleasant was pretty much lit when he was doing this movie. But I will say this, the best part is the chasing within the Myers house, which didn't look like the Myers house. When she's like in the, I guess the garbage chute or that scene.
Yeah,
where
it
she,
was
like,
a laundry chute.
Mm-hmm.
It was a laundry chute. It went from like she was at the top floor and then it went down to the basement, but she was locked in, and so she had to crawl up back to the room where where Myers' older sister was killed, where she started from originally.
Right.
Like, because that's where the room she was in, and then she went up. Yeah,
that was a good sequence.
I liked it when they were running in the woods.
That was a good tense scene. Like I said, I kind of think that if they were going to kill Rachel, you wait till the end of the movie to where she would sacrifice herself for Jamie.
I didn't think she'd be one of the first. I thought it would be one of her friends.
Instead, we get introduced to Tina, who was not in Halloween 4, who is batshit annoying.
I don't know. That was me as a kid.
Character.
You wouldn't have liked me.
I can't help it. I can't help to be sensible if I can help it. It's like, this is what happens when you take a person who never probably watched the first 4 Halloween movies and put them in charge, because it was a different director and writer from the Halloween 4, and decided he was going to make an artsy fartsy Halloween film, and
then that ending.
Yeah. The ending. Here's the thing too. Why is this guy dressed in black taking a bus to Haddonfield? Does he not know how to drive, and could he not hire a driver? Seems to me you want to try to keep yourself like hidden, and yet you're here on a.
He did a good job of hiding himself in those shadows, but I mean, that's where it shows him like 3 different times. Like, that's just extremely annoying to me.
I don't think the guy who wrote it even knew who he was supposed to be.
They're like, let's just throw this in here and I'll figure it out for the next one.
And that's exactly what they did.
Let's just put like a random symbol on his arm. Tell him to have matching tattoos.
I think both Donald Pleasance and Daniel Harris did the best they could do. I mean, it's not. I'm guessing it's not easy to act when you can't talk because throughout the most of the movie,
She
the
did
character
actually pretty good.
I think
Mm.
I think she nailed it.
For
I
a
think,
kid, she did really
yeah.
good. I mean, then,
She was like,
but then when she starts getting her voice back and stuff, she sounds. I'm probably going to be politically incorrect here, but she sounds
you-
like like she's
um,
not all
yeah,
there.
yeah. Well,
Let's
and she
say-
probably isn't supposed to be all there either. Probably. I'm
Let's
guessing.
save your social media personality here. We got you. We got you.
We
Okay.
won't totally go there. I mean, what you
No,
think?
I was just saying. I mean, that's the best I could say. She just wasn't. She didn't sound like she was all there. But I don't know. Like, okay, so 5 picks up and does kind of a recap. It does kind of like 2 did to 1. It does this recap or whatever, and then like
Mhm.
it's a year later, you're in the children's
Ward.
children's ward or whatever, and like I don't know. I'm wondering what this connection is, how she can see through his eyes sometimes and how she can't. Can he see through her? I don't know. And it's just like I feel like they
Yeah,
went kind of a
they kind of
different way with this.
route
And
than
I
what
did
they were
not-
going to go with for.
And I did not like when Loomis used her as bait. That's never.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I
that's
was saying
so-
when
and
we
I
were
think-
talking about. Yeah, when we were talking about 4,
Earlier.
I don't like. I mean, he was just like shaking her, and like that poor nurse or whatever that was right there with her. She's like, "Leave the
Mhm.
child alone." I mean, this child's 9. So I mean,
I have heard.
it made me
I've
want
heard
to
that.
smack him a little bit.
I heard that Donald. I heard that Donald Pleasant wasn't very happy the way they wrote his character in it, and obviously he's just doing his job.
It showed
but
a
it's
different
like,
side of him.
yeah, and I don't think he liked going that far because Loomis would not use a child as a shield like that. Per
Mm-mm.
se. Yes, he's getting.
Because I mean, like
unhinged.
Alistair said, I mean, he feels like in a way it's his fault. I mean, he was willing to sacrifice himself.
Like he
but
did
now-
in 2. He was
Yeah,
wanting to
now
do it.
we're like
Mhm.
going like now he's different character. I don't know. Mm.
It's interesting. Did he have like that whole metal net already rigged up in the Myers house to catch Michael?
Oh yes, I was like he went Scooby Doo on their ass. All right, he's like a fan of Fred Jones here because like he's got this
The way-
chain net.
The way that movie should have ended, get rid of the Man in Black. It should have ended in a similar fashion the way Friday the 13th Chapter 4 ended, where Tommy Jarvis just goes batshit crazy on Jason when he just starts stabbing him repeatedly. That's what should have happened here. Jamie should have just picked up that knife at this point. Her stepsister's been murdered. Her dog's been murdered. She's had enough, and she just goes batshit crazy on Michael and just starts stabbing him like crazy. That's how that should have ended. That would have been a better ending. I think we all agree.
If that would substitute her ending in part 6, I agree with that. Because that was some
Oh
bullshit.
yeah, let's go ahead and talk about 6 because I think we talked about all there is. I mean, did anyone else find Tina to be totally annoying? And plus the 2 goofy cops with their little sound
I
effects.
didn't like her boyfriend. I didn't like the boyfriend and the 2 cops that followed her.
Yeah,
Beavis
the two-
and Butthead over here. Like just
Okay.
they didn't help out anything.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
and like when they do the trick, like they play the trick on those 2 cops and they go back in the barn and then like shit actually happens and they're like absolutely. Those are the worst 2 cops to like have somebody follow. They're like Tina has to survive. Listen,
They would have
these
been
2
better-
rookies here.
they would have been better off with the 2 cops. Did either one of you see Super Bad? They would have been better off with those 2 cops. I think that was Seth Rogen
Right.
and Bill Hader, I think. Yeah, they would have been better off with those cops like following them than
Yeah,
what
that
they put out there.
comes full circle because you got Danny McBride doing the latest ones.
Don't get me started on that month. We'll get to him. I ain't done.
Stabbed,
Yeah,
he stabbed his sister in the tit.
Anyhow, it's like 5 has some good moments to it. It could have been a good movie. They just that ending just was like I said, what are we
What
doing
the heck?
here? We're gonna
Yeah.
have a guy come in with a 1930s style gangster Tommy gun and blow away the whole police force, I guess.
Yeah,
And
the
whereas,
only thing that really did bother me is like, I mean, when she when Tina goes to the car and like her boyfriend's there, or she thinks it's her boyfriend with the mask on and stuff like that, and like he's like not saying anything and she still puts up with it. That's when I wanted to smack her. I was just like, at this point, like you should realize there's something wrong.
I don't think she was billed to be the most brilliant final. Well, she's not a final girl.
Yeah.
She got killed, but on to Halloween 6. What is it with Halloween films? And we'll get to this later with Resurrection. And I'm sorry, Devontae, because I know you like Resurrection, but we're going to kill off a beloved character in the first 10 minutes for no fucking good reason. We did it with Rachel in 5. Guess what? We're going to do it with Jamie in 6.
Jamie. Yeah, so this one, Lord, this one's just so weird. You have somebody growing up in the Strode house that is similar to Lori. Like they brought her in when she was like, like the dad. Oh my god, he pisses me off so bad. But he's like,
I know who you're talking
yeah, and yeah. Yeah, so they killed Jamie off after she has the baby, and here comes the ruin sign again that you see on Michael in the previous one. Which of course, go ahead.
We don't know who the father is. Is it the Man in Black? Is it Michael Myers? We don't know.
If it's Michael Myers, that would be kind of effed up. But
incest baby.
Yeah, well, I don't know, but we have this kid here, and then who is it? What's his name? Paul.
Paul Rudd. It's Paul Rudd's first
Rudd,
movie
yes.
role, I think.
I will never watch the latest Ghostbusters movies because those kept him from reprising the role in Halloween Kills.
You know what? I think it's a good thing that he didn't get a chance to do that.
No, that'd have been incredible. Also,
Paul Rudd, I will say, is my definitive adult Tommy Doyle, without a doubt. He will always be adult Tommy Doyle.
I mean, he's putting 2 and 2 together pretty good. He's kind of like the Dr. Loomis without
Even though, I mean, and that's the thing I'll say about this movie.
He's like a young Dr. Loomis. There you go.
I will occasionally, and of course, there's like 2 different, and Devontae mentioned, there's 2 different cuts of this movie. There's the theatrical cut and the producer's cut. And they're both batshit. I mean, the producer's cut's even crazier than the actual theatrical cut. I'll say this about 6. I was like, when I was watching this movie in the theater, I was wondering, okay, that's Jamie. That doesn't look much like Danielle Harris, though. Oh, they must have recast her. I wonder why she didn't come back to play the role. 5 minutes later goes, oh, that's why.
Yeah.
And I think Danielle Harris has talked about this, that they didn't want to pay her shit to come back, and she saw the script and she was like, nah, I'll pass on this.
Yeah.
But because I thought 6, I mean, here's my thought. We talked about Friday the 13th a little bit. They had the prototype of what to do with this character. I thought that Halloween 6 was going to be kind of like Friday the 13th Part 6 with what they did with the Tommy Jarvis character, where he has this final confrontation with Jason at the very end of that movie. I thought they would do the same thing with Jamie and Michael, and of course they didn't. And I almost walked out of the theater when really? We've gone through this character's gone through all this shit, almost more shit than her mother did, and we're just going to kill her off like that. And of course, we insinuate that in the producer's cut that Michael impregnated her. That's why she has the baby, which is really what they do. Have a nurse jerk Michael off and inseminate her, or what?
I know, without her dying.
Halloween
Yeah,
Incest
I don't
Baby.
know.
That alternate title.
Yeah, this wasn't. Yeah, this wasn't one of my favorites. But this is like we just went over the movies. Like one of the ways to watch it. You know, you watch 1, 2, and then you skip down to 4, 5, and 6. So you have those. So that's one of the timelines.
Mhm.
But after this, then yeah, those timelines don't really matter.
I will say, 6 at the time was probably the most brutal because you talked about the dad in that movie and what an asshole he was. I loved his death scene. Watching his
Yeah.
head explode like that.
Oh
That was
yeah.
like the most brutal. That might still be the most brutal Halloween kill in the series. I think
Have y'all
the
seen
head
what is
explosion.
it? 101 Scariest Movie Moments. It's on AMC right now.
I've seen
They were
parts of
talking
it.
about the head explosion scenes and stuff the other day. Yeah, I don't know. That's if you haven't seen that series, go watch it. That and Cursed Films. A lot
I
of
love
what
Cursed
a lot of what you think that is fake is actually not fake. Like watch the one about Cannibal Holocaust. That
Oh,
one's brutal.
the Wizard of Oz one was just
Yeah.
incredible.
Sorry, I'm getting off track again. I've just
No,
been
no,
watching the mirror lately.
yeah, me too. Me
That's
too.
all right. Well, the thing with Halloween 6, I'll say, is I will revisit it from time to time just out of nostalgia because it is Donald Pleasance's last performance because he died before the movie even came out. So just for
Mhm.
nostalgic purposes, and it's Paul Rudd's. I think it's like his first movie. I think that
It's one
he
of his first
did.
like
So and he
big
is good.
things, yeah.
There is some good. It does have a good atmosphere to the movie. There's some good kills. It's very dark in its tone. It's just what the F? It's like I'm gonna have to drink I'd have to drink this whole bottle of wine just to watch it. But
That was to me the latest movie that came out was H2O. So this was like the last one. It's like, oh, this is something I haven't seen before
right,
previously. H2O was like,
yeah,
You
H2O
gotta kind of forget that she did not have daughter. Like this is its own little like
Mhm.
I actually like that one a lot, and it's one that I watch a lot. But I also grew up in the '90s, and like I'm a big fan of like the Scream franchise, and to me that falls like right there with Scream movies. So
Yeah, H2O, and we can go ahead and now move to H2O. This is like This is where we start going into a different timelines because this is going to go off of 1, 2, and directly into H2O. And I, my impression of the movie, I think the story's well written. It's my favorite version of Laurie Strode because we see this character's
I
arc.
love her. Yes,
I think it's her best performance. I think it's even
it
a better
really
performance
is.
than the first 2 movies. I think the reason
They
why
gave
you
her
might
like more of a badass like feel, like
exactly,
she's a survivor and she's going to continue to survive. This is before
and
she goes batshit crazy.
she feels more connected to the Laurie. She feels like she's Laurie Strode of
Yeah,
Halloween 1 and 2, and we'll get to the later sequels later when they bring her back again from the dead. Obviously, they couldn't really they had to almost take away 4, 5, and 6 because if you left those,
yes,
it makes
yeah.
Laurie Strode the worst mother of all time. So you couldn't do that. My critique of the movie is basically I like the opening scene where we see Joseph Gordon-Levitt get a hockey skate in his skull. And the
JGL,
bathroom
baby,
scene.
JGL.
Yeah. God bless him. Great actor though, and that's
Oh,
cool
yeah.
that he was in the movie. I
Hang on, I'll
didn't
be right
like.
back.
Go ahead.
I can still hear you, but you won't see me. Hang on.
Okay. And the reason why you might like it, Mindy, is why my critiques of it is it looks too clean of a movie. It looks too much like a Screen movie. I would have instead of them having it doesn't feel like fall when you watch
Mhm.
that movie. It's it's set in California. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Lori changed her name, moved someplace far away. What if they had made that movie like take place in like somewhere in the New England area,
Mhm.
or if they made it in Washington or Oregon, somewhere there where it's gonna feel like fall. It felt too much like a Scream movie.
Mhm.
The soundtrack's not very
It,
good.
it
It's a
did feel
weak
like a Scream
score, I thought.
movie.
And that's kind of the problem. And I would expect it was directed by Steve Miner, who directed Friday the 13th parts 2 and 3. So I
Mhm.
would have expected better with him. But I think what's his face that was involved, the screenwriter was Kevin Williamson, who wrote a lot of stuff with produced Scream. You could tell his fingerprints are all over that movie. And I'm like, boy, if you could have took that script and had Rob Zombie direct it, it would have been a
Oh,
much more. It needed to be more brutal. I think is what I'm saying. It looked too clean for me. It's still a good movie. It's one of those movies I will rewatch just because the ending is so epic. And like I said, Jamie Lee Curtis, it's her best performance as that character. And hey, someone with my same first name is in it, Josh Hartnett. So who went on, and by the way, Josh Hartnett in 30 Days of Nights, if you haven't seen that,
Yes.
is awesome. And that's his
Awesome.
best role ever. But he
Trapped
was in
was
H2O.
incredible.
Yeah.
in that as well.
And we had LL Cool J, I like him, but his character should have been killed off in a brutal fashion
No,
instead of
no.
surviving.
Let him live. Let him
Man,
live.
I thought he was really gonna die when what's his name shot him. Hey, man, I'll tell you what, Laurie's choice in men are not that great.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, what's his name?
It's Alan Arkin's
yes, he gets on my
Adam
nerves.
Arkin, I mean. Yeah, he was kind of creepy, wasn't he? A little
He
bit.
was like, he was brought. Okay, how you like Tina? That's how I like him.
Oh, okay. They would have made a great couple, don't you think? Tina and I forget.
Oh
the
yeah,
character's
there you
name.
go.
There we go.
There you go. I can't see.
Matchmaker.
He's you can't even remember the name of the character. I can't either.
We got Travis Mitchell on here. He's watching us. Hi, Travis. Says H2O Myers looked like a Walmart greeter.
It looked like a Walmart greeter, but he lowered
If you
himself.
thought the mask in 4 and 5 was bad, or 6 was actually an improvement. We didn't talk about that.
Yeah,
In
4 was the
H2O,
best.
it was off.
Yeah.
They even used a CGI mask at one point in that movie.
Listen, he lowered himself from one hand from a bar. That is old school, gymnast acrobat strength right there.
I will say,
He did.
I like that
I
one.
forgot about that where he's like, I mean, he did it like slowly too. I'm like, Jesus, upper body strength of that guy. Wish I had that kind of upper body strength.
I like this one from Devontae. H2O looked like a Lifetime low-budget TV movie. It's the only Halloween movie I can picture being on Lifetime.
Okay.
I wouldn't go that far with it, but I get what you're saying. It's not the best.
It's not up there with the others.
Yeah, it lacked the atmosphere.
It's on a different level.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got that
like I
Scream vibe, but it came out kind of around the same time and everything.
Yeah.
So,
like I said,
1998.
I love the ending of it, the big showdown between her and Michael, and her finally. I mean, I was in the theater. Everyone cheered when he took his head and all that, and then we get to Resurrection, which retcons what was otherwise a great ending. Talk away, because I gotta take a leak. I'll be right back.
so we're on Resurrection now. So I like the beginning. And just like a lot of the Halloween films, like, okay, so this one picks up where H2O left off. You see Laurie Strode in the mental hospital, and she is just waiting on Michael to come back, and she is pretending to like just be complete, like the fact that she cuts off that guy's head in the last one and it's the wrong guy. Messed her up, and so, but after that, it seemed like the storyline had nothing to do with what. I don't know.
It was always my hope she had faked her death on that rooftop, because he's not going to stay. He's not going to stick around for the autopsy report. She just has to look dead. So That was always
Yeah.
my wish, but you know, whatever.
I don't know. Like, I mean, to me, this kind of brought like the way that they did it. What is it? The Haunting. You remember where that guy does like the study and like he brings these people in and like,
Liam
uh,
Neeson, Owen Wilson,
yeah,
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
yeah,
Yeah, I know what you're talking
yeah. That's the kind of vibe I got from this.
about. Mhm.
Like, yeah, I feel like, and a lot of movies were doing that at that time. I mean, you had House on Haunted Hill, and I mean, it's just a lot of them were doing that type of vibe. So you got Busta Rhymes in there.
I will say it did beat. This was different because it actually streamed it, and so like I do feel like it beat YouTube culture by about like 10 years on this one.
I'll agree with you there. I'll definitely agree with you there.
I will
But
say this: I did not see, trick or treat, motherfucker. I didn't see that. But
Yeah, I
and
will
then
say this. Go ahead.
and then what was it? I had seen I had rented the DVD. It had about like 8 different endings.
let's see. I guess I didn't watch the alternate endings.
To be honest, I will say that Travis here makes a question. Michael does have a good taste in cars. I mean, he he stole that car in Halloween 5 from the one Deuce bag, and
He
then
stole the one in the very
the
first one,
Firebird.
and they were like, "He's not
Yeah.
supposed to know how to drive," and I'm like,
Well, that's
"For
because
not
Dr.
knowing how
Wynn
to
taught
drive,
him
he
how.
drives pretty damn good."
Devontae says there's like 4 different endings to whatever it was to Halloween
Resurrection.
Resurrection.
Yeah, I saw them all.
Okay. I'll say this about Halloween Resurrection. To be honest, I've only seen the first 15 minutes of it
Really?
because as
That's
well,
like the best part of the movie to me.
I've
is
seen
the
like
first 15.
highlights of the stuff, so I know what happens. But as I explained to Alistair and Aaron when we were doing the Hellraiser thing, I rented Halloween Resurrection and Hellraiser Inferno, the single most worst viewing experience. So after I got done watching Inferno, which was 90 minutes of piece of where the Weinsteins first took a big shit on that series, I got to see them take a shit on another. Because after I see what they did by retconning H2O and killing off Laurie in a dumb manner, I'm like, I'm done. I'm out. But I know what happens though. I've seen enough YouTube videos or whatever showing what happens to Trick or Treat motherfucker and all that. So, Alistair, you have to leave here in a little bit. Is that correct?
Unfortunately, yeah, I do, man.
Okay. We're going to really quick then. And I promise the audience we are going to get to some of the other movies. Let's get to here. We're going to do this here because I know you have. I'm going to put you at main. No, we're not doing that. I'm putting. There we go. Let's hear you talk. We're going to fast forward to Halloween Ends, and then me and Mindy can finish it off there. Tell me why you like Halloween Ends, and then I'll get to Mindy because I guess she kind of likes it too.
Halloween Ends. At the beginning, I honestly thought they were going to do Halloween meets Parasite, the Korean movie that had just won the Oscar. Because he's in the giant mansion. He's stuck in a creepy room, and he's like looking around. And I was like, "Are they doing Parasite?" And then when they didn't, and that kid died, I thought, "Are they gonna do Halloween 3: Season of the Witch?" It was that area of uncertainty that kind of just like blew my mind. And then once again, the scene with the doctor, I thought I saw Tom Atkins. It wasn't Tom Atkins. So the possibilities were getting me. And then you get to the Corey of it all. And I maintain if you had sharpened up the script or the acting, you could have made that work. Either that or switch out that actor with Evan Peters. Evan Peters could have made that work. No change at all. He could have made that work. And
I'll agree with you there.
even if for the hardcore fans, if you want to skip all the experimental shit, just go straight to the last 15 minutes. You would have had a perfect ending. Like Laurie fighting him in the kitchen, and then they capture him, they drive him throughout town, and then they throw him in the trash compactor, just liquefies. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. But
They did the good old town lynching, but they had to. They had to. That was a perfect ending.
for the spirit of the city. And that ending, it was Laurie. You saw the house. There was like nothing on the bookshelves. There was no furniture, nothing at all. But you get to the very last scene. It was just a coffee table in Michael's mask. To her, she had left everything behind. And to me, that was the perfect ending.
You said it perfectly. I'm a big fan of Halloween Ends.
Me too. Josh, real quick, summarize your feelings, man.
You like the old school?
And I almost have to talk about the other two movies. All right, I'll say this. Out of those three movies, the David Gordon crap movies,
Halloween Ends, and Halloween Kills.
Nah.
I don't like
Those are
any
good
of
too.
them. And I'll get on to later whys. Because I think all three of them are just the worst. I think Resurrection, okay, Devon, listen to me quickly here. Resurrection is a better written movie than the three movies that Danny McBride wrote. I'll give you that. And that's a very go on and on that. The way Laurie is portrayed in this movie is the way she should have been portrayed in Halloween 2018. Because she's moved on, she's doing all this. That's how she should have been 218. We're talking like 40 fucking years after she got like a little nick on her shoulder and sprained her ankle or whatever. And only 3 people were killed that night, but I digress. I don't like seeing Michael being demasculinized the way he was by a scrawny teenager for start. That's my big thing. But
I don't think that's what it was.
That's the way I looked at it. And a lot of other people have that problem too.
All right. Well, I got to take off right now.
All righty. Well, it was great joining you. We're going to probably, me and Mindy, are backtrack to Rob Zombie.
It was nice to meeting you. And by the way, I love your name. That's actually my daughter's name. I love the name Alistair.
Oh,
and Alistair,
awesome.
I'm going to, and I'll get with you later. I'll probably have November 9th in a few weeks. Probably going to have like a full, trying to get as many people as I can, kind of like pick your own topic type of thing. It's probably going to be the last episode of this year because I'm going to go on, take a little break for the holidays or whatever. So you're certainly invited. So hopefully you can come on. I'm hoping to get a few other extra. Hopefully we get 7 or 8 people. I don't know if we'll get that many, but.
All right. Hope to be there, man.
All right. Well, we'll catch you later, Alistair, and me and Mindy will finish this off.
Absolutely.
So, Alistair, we'll see you in a few weeks, hopefully.
Josh,
bye.
I'll see you later. Mindy, defend the new ones with fury.
I will.
I'll see you all later.
All right, we'll catch you later.
Bye.
I know he's the avid defender. So let's go back before we get to David Gordon Green. And Travis is right. I agree with him.
Rob Zombie.
If you reverse the trilogy and now Laurie starts 2018 the way she is and ends, Michael attacks it, rested, and that's what. Yeah, you're right, Travis. I agree with you on that one. But yeah, so we'll go back. Resurrection kind of like ended those timelines from the original movies. So.
Yeah, you have 1, 2, and then you have Halloween H2O, and then you have Halloween Resurrection, and that's the second way to watch it. So
right,
or you're like us, you just watch all of them.
Right. And so then a few years later, they decided to do the remake.
Boom, Rob Zombie.
Doing it.
I am.
And
big fan of Rob Zombie, by the way.
Me too. Me too. And there's once again another sentiment. This is the first Rob Zombie's Halloween is the first movie that my wife and I went out on a date when we were first
Uh-huh.
dating. This first movie we saw together, so which is kind of cool. Um, I overall I have my critiques of it. I prefer the theatrical cut over the director's cut actually because I don't like in the uncut version you have the way Michael breaks out of Smith's Grove involves that prison rape scene
Yeah.
where those two hillbillies and I think that scene just made him into an anti-hero and it doesn't really add anything to the plot. Whereas in the
Yeah.
theatrical cut, which I have on Blu-ray, it's just him breaking out of some chains. They're going to transfer him, and he kills the guards and breaks out. And I kind of preferred that because it
I
makes
prefer the theatrical cut over
yeah,
the director's cut.
for sure.
Um,
And it's just I
but I
don't like.
mean, he definitely did an amazing job on pretty much trying to, recreate like
Hmm.
1 and 2. So, I mean,
And with the first, I mean, I'll admit the first 15-20 minutes are probably the weakest, are the part that I don't like because I think I'm not, as you well know, and I'm no prude or all, but I think he went a little overboard with some of the dialogue. I thought, okay,
that's just his style, though.
yeah, it's. I would have preferred him go the route if you're going to do like the backstory thing, do where instead he comes from like some sort of white trash or broken home, where he comes from a fairly nice upper middle class type of thing and just snaps. I would have preferred that if you're going to do the backstory for me. I don't
Yeah.
know. What'd you think about
I
that?
like the fact that he did more of a backstory than like the
Hmm.
first one, because the first one you're only getting like 5 minutes and you're not even sure who exactly he killed. They don't even state that it was his sister. A lot of people thought it was his babysitter, but you don't even get the fact that that was his
Oh,
sister
wow.
until the second one.
Hmm.
And so it's just like just seeing how that kid was. I mean, the kid did a really, really great job of
Hmm.
acting, I think, to portray Michael as he's growing up.
Right.
So,
I also
and
saw
it's just,
this.
I don't know.
A lot of people will give Rob Zombie shit for putting his wife in every movie he does. Her
Sherry
performance
is
in
great.
I thought her
I've met her.
performance she showed I haven't met her yet, but she showed in this movie along with another movie, Lords of Salem, which I don't know if
Mhm.
you've seen that one. She can act. She can do
She
different
can.
things. She doesn't just have to play this crazy over the top killer like in
Yeah,
Devil's
she's more than
Rejects or House
baby
of
in
Cards.
his, yeah, yeah.
She can actually pull off some fairly dramatic chops. I thought the story for me really takes off when they're in Smith's Grove and we have the backstory between him and Loomis because that gives you
Mhm.
more context into that dynamic. I thought Malcolm McDowell's an excellent actor. I've met him now twice at two different conventions.
He did a good job as
He's a
playing Dr. Loomis.
no one's gonna beat Donald Pleasance as we
No,
know
no,
for
yeah,
sure.
nobody's ever gonna be Donald
Just
Pleasance,
like
but
no
yeah,
one's ever gonna
and he
beat
has that, like, Donald Pleasance has that voice, like he's
right.
got that certain
Hmm.
voice, and like, I mean, if any other actor could have gotten close to that voice, like, just it's the way he says things and stuff. It would have been in the Rob Zombie films.
Yeah.
Like I said, like the ones after, the other doctor, I'm not a big fan of his.
Malcolm
He
McDowell.
sounds like, I mean,
Oh yeah.
he sounds like Dr. Loomis, but he doesn't have that dialogue like Dr.
He
Loomis does.
obviously like plays them a little bit differently, which with a here's the thing with a remake. Some people will complain, goes, well, in this one, Michael talks as a kid. Well, do you want a total carbon copy of the original, or do you want to do something different? Because if you're gonna make a carbon copy, then what's the point? I think with this one, Rob Zombie kind of balanced it with doing something different while still trying to stay true to the original story. And I think for me, it's my fourth. I talk about one, two, four. Then I go Rob Zombie's Halloween as being my fourth favorite. It's one that I
Mhm.
watch on rotation. I think the casting overall, let's put it this way. I think we look at the character of Sheriff Brackett. Now, Charlie Cyphers, who just passed away about a month ago, did a good job with that role. But Brad Dourif, I thought, and we'll get into Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, really, I thought did a great job. He's a great actor anyway. We're talking about the voice of Chucky and has been tons of other movies and Lord of the Rings movies. I thought he was a better Brackett. I thought Daniel Harris is a better Annie in this one, maybe a little bit than Nancy Loomis. Not to cast any shade on her at all. Just my
Six.
maybe because those are very much '90s characters, and I and I graduated in the high school in the '90s, so maybe they were more relatable. The girls were than the original. That's not to say the original's still the best, but
They say, didn't Jamie? I'm trying to look at it because you know my memory sucks. Yeah, Jamie. I love
right,
how they brought. Wait a minute. No, they didn't bring her back. For some reason, I was thinking Jamie Lloyd was who played
Annie.
Annie.
Yeah, she did. Daniel Harris, who
Didn't
played
she?
Jamie Lloyd, and then she came back and played Annie
No, she
in the
played it in
Rob
5 and
Zombie movie.
6, and then she did okay. That's why I like the fact that they brought her back. I mean, she's a good actor to begin with, but yeah, she did
Yeah,
a really really good job. And
and
I
it
love how
almost
I don't
traumatized.
know in Rob Zombie
Go ahead.
movies, you know, all those characters kind of have some sass to them. That's another reason why I like them.
Well, and here's another thing too. I like the kids that play Tommy and Lindsay in this. And once again, this is no shade to the OGs at all, but the kid actors that play Tommy and Lindsay in the Rob Zombie, I actually like better because they're a little bit more. They felt a little bit more realistic, a little bit more animated.
Yeah, especially for these times.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one thing Rob Zombie does really good, he does a good job at casting, and I think he did a great
Mhm.
job at casting by and large. I thought Scout, no one's going to beat Jamie Lee. Once again, like you're never going to beat Donald Pleasance. You're not going to beat Jamie Lee Curtis, but I thought Scout Taylor Compton did a really good job. I thought it was great that they had Dee Wallace in there playing her mom because we never really meet Laurie's parents in the original Halloween, so we get to see her parents and whatnot. And so they did some good things. I thought the one who played Linda did a good job as well. Christine Klebb is the actress's name. Um, I don't overall I like the movie. It kind
Yeah.
of traumatized me a little bit because in there, it sounds weird. Daniel Harris, of course, as Annie, does a topless scene. It I didn't keep in mind when this movie came out in 2007, we didn't really have internet the way it was with social media. So I had no idea. All I knew is that Rob Zombie was directing it and Malcolm McDowell was playing Loomis. That's all I knew. So when the end credits came up and I saw Daniel Harris's name up there, I'm like, really? They brought her back? Who did fuck did she play? And I had to stop and think. I was, oh, she must have been Annie. And then I had to think to myself, holy shit, I just saw Jamie Lloyd's boobs
Wait.
in this movie. So when I grew up,
Now,
I'm like, wow.
the whole thing, the only thing that I do not like, okay, you know how during the scene where, you know, she's dying and everything, oh, how her bathroom is all like torn up and it has like 666 everywhere and like, you know, the sign of the
Mhm.
devil and all this other stuff. That I don't know why they threw that in there. I mean, I guess it's a Rob Zombie thing. I get it, but I mean, when did Michael Myers have time to like destroy everything when he was killing her?
I'm responding to Devontae over here. I was not that tuned into the internet, so I had no idea Daniel Harris was in it. So not until saw the movie. I only saw the preview when I think I saw Hannibal Rising in the theaters, and that's when I first saw the preview for Rob Zombies. But I had no idea that Daniel Harris was in the movie. So shows you how oblivious I was. Keep in mind, I'm an old motherfucker, so I don't.
Hey, it's okay. I'm not good
It's a-
at names at all. So
but
except
I
for
thought
those people that really stand out to me.
right. So overall, it's a good movie. I love the soundtrack because my favorite rock band
Hmm.
was Rush, and Tom Sawyer is featured in the soundtrack. So I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. But it was I enjoyed it. I think it's one of the better remakes.
Yeah,
Of course,
I'll definitely agree with you there.
the 2000s had a string of remakes, and I think I probably put it behind the Friday the 13th and Texas Chainsaw remakes as far as, and maybe the Night of the Demons remakes, which I just watched last night, as being maybe the top 4, top 5 remakes of the 2000s, probably. So it was good. It was brutal. Some people complained that Michael's too big, too gigantic, or whatever in the movie, but
I think that fits his character. I mean, I think because like in a couple of them, especially like the some of the first ones, he is tall, but he's kind of scrawny. Like if you, the only reason I
Mhm.
think he looks as big as he does is because of that like the goddamn auto body suit that he always has to be wearing.
Right, right.
But I
Well,
like the fact that he's
I've
bigger.
I've seen Tyler Mane in person, and he is a pretty big dude. So, but that's just like with Jason too. I mean, if you look at Jason from part 2 or 3, he's nowhere as maybe as big or as imposing necessarily as when Kane Hodder took over that
Yeah.
role, or when Derek Mears did that role in the remake, or whoever played that role. I forget the actor who played him in Freddy versus Jason, but obviously Jason evolved, and there's been different versions, and I think they're all great. And I think for the most part, most of the Michael performances have been pretty good, even the newer
Mhm.
ones. Um, but getting from first to
Oh
Rob
wait, you had something
Zombie.
good to say about the newer ones?
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to Rob Zombie's Halloween too. What'd you think about his second one?
I liked it just as good as the first one. That I
Hmm.
mean, to me, I think I mean, pretty much everything that I have good to say about the first one, I have good to say about the second one.
Yeah, the second one I don't like as much. I've had to warm up to it. Here's my overall thoughts. I wish they would have kept the whole White Horse Supernatural stuff out of it, to be honest, and kept it as a psychological slasher film because that's
Like,
really
yeah,
what it was. That was the best parts. I didn't see a need to bring Malcolm McDowell back because at the end of the one, you pretty much presume that he's dead because he has his eyes gouged out. And his character, outside of having his book come out, doesn't really matter in this movie. You could have like kept him dead and found another way to
it's true.
let Lori know because I didn't. I omit. I was fine with this with the way that the character was in the first one. The second one, I think they'd go too far away from the spirit of Loomis because he comes across as being a bit of a narcissist and a jackass in that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was trying to, because I mean, in if you're we're talking about, the original Halloweens, that's kind of how he
Hmm.
evolved. He evolved in kind of to that narcissist and like, kind of out there person. I think that's kind of what he was trying to portray with it instead of doing, like, how you'd watch 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6,
Hmm.
how you see him evolve into
Right.
that person. I think Rob Zombie was trying to do that in, it's just the two films. So
Yeah. I also thought that okay, his dead body is his whatever body's being transported by those ambulance drivers. They hit a, I think it was a fucking deer or whatever it was. I have to rewatch. Well, I'm gonna rewatch it Thursday
it,
anyway.
I think it was a deer. I don't
And
know. Don't give me the line. I've seen
here's the
all of
thing:
them within two
you have
days. So
Loomis stating that, oh, Michael Myers is definitely dead and all this stuff, and everyone else thinks he's dead. Wait a second. No body was found. No way Loomis would have ever assumed that Michael was dead if no body was found. So I thought that was kind of off a little bit. Um, but I'll say this. This is what I'm going to say. This Brad Dourif, who played Sheriff Brackett, he gets to play more of a role. And at the time that I saw this movie, and I'm trying not to get too emotional, I had just had my first kid. My wife was pregnant with a second. So that scene, that whole dynamic with him, Danielle playing Annie, who now has progressed as almost like an older sister character
Yeah.
toward Lori. I thought the three of them nailed it from an acting standpoint.
Hmm.
And that scene where Annie finally does die in this movie, and the sheriff finds his daughter dead. I gotta admit, in the theater, I almost went to tears on that scene. Probably because
Hmm.
I was a new father and whatnot. And I always say,
Probably.
if I ever meet Brad Dourif in person or whatever at a horror con, I want to give that man a hug because I saw myself in that character kind of. So that's where I really love that movie from the whole family aspect that they introduced
Aspect.
in there. And lesser actors wouldn't have pulled that off as good as Brad, Daniel, and Scout did. I think that little whole family dynamic where
Yeah.
he's brought Lori into his family to take care of her and all that stuff, and now Annie has gone from just being the crazy party friend to now she's the responsible one. And I like that progression of character. So that's
And
something
I
that
think
he
her dad
picked.
played a good character. I think he did a really, really great
Mhm.
job of portraying the original sheriff.
Mhm. Absolutely. And it's like I said, I kind of like that version better than the original. Not once again, Charlie Cyphers was great as Sheriff Brackett, but it's almost like both he and Danielle were allowed to do more with their characters in the second one. Rob Zombie allowed them to like kind of branch out those characters a little
Yeah.
bit. So I thought that's the part of the movie that I really liked. I still like the movie. I just wish they would have cut out the white horse nonsense out of it,
Okay,
basically. And
I
like
can
I
see
said,
that.
you really didn't need to have Loomis in the movie, really. You could have just
Yeah.
kept it like that. So that's,
But I
it's
think he really, like I said, wanted to portray, how he
mhm,
did, how he got originally in the,
right,
first timeline there. So,
exactly. So that movie was not as well received as the first one. I also understood that well, I'm gonna call them the Creepsteins brothers. Okay, we'll call them that. Interfered a lot in the production to the point to where Rob Zombie almost quit halfway through the production of that movie because he was so fed up with their bullshit. So I don't know what the Weinsteins added into that movie or not. That if it was their idea for the White Horse or what. But it sounds like Rob Zombie had a miserable time making that movie. He said that before in interviews, and I've heard Daniel Harris say that too in interviews that Rob was pretty miserable. But I think all in all, with everything, I think it's still a good movie. It's better than a lot of the
yeah,
other movies, I think for sure.
I
It's
will definitely agree with you there.
it's certainly the most one of the more daring movies because they did a lot of different shit in this movie.
And it's a
Um,
lot more graphic than a lot of the other ones,
mhm.
too.
Probably the most brutal for sure. Um, but now we get into the newest trilogy
Halloween.
when Blumhouse made Halloween
Yeah, and
2018.
this is actually supposed to go originally with the very first one. So it goes Halloween, and then it goes Halloween, and then Halloween kills, and then
Kills
Halloween
and yeah,
ends.
yeah. So they're even retconning too. So what was your thoughts of Halloween 2018?
I personally like. I think Lori. I mean, at this time, you got to think it's been like near 40 years, and she's
Hmm.
just. I mean, put yourself in that position. And she was a little bit out there, but I mean, she at the same time was trying to protect her family. This one, like, you can't pay attention to a lot of the very first ones because this she had been preparing her daughter. Her daughter got taken away by the state when she was 12, so of course you can't think about Jamie at all.
Right,
So
right, because
yeah,
she's not in this
you
timeline.
can
It's
only
a
go
different
you can only go
daughter.
off the first one there. But yeah, I don't like the girl who plays. I can't remember her name.
The daughter
They
or
even named
granddaughter?
they even named the daughter. No, I like the granddaughter. I can't remember the daughter's name. They named her something
Karen.
different in this one. Karen,
Is
yes.
Judy Greer, and Karen is a fitting name for her too. For
Yes,
several
it is
levels.
very, very fitting for her. But I am not a fan of her. I'm happy she ended up dying, which of course she ended up dying in one of the Halloween kills, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, that one picks up where this one ends. But yeah, I like it. I mean, it's more kind of up there with like the generation that had been going on at the time. I know you're not a fan of it. What are your thoughts?
All right. No, here's I always like to try whenever I critique a movie, I at least want to give it what it did well. I thought James G.
Like a
Courtney,
manager, start with something you did good.
I learned that in business school when I went took business classes. No, I think James G. Courtney's performance as Michael and the look of Michael and the mask and everything was perfect. I thought that part of it was great. The score, John Carpenter comes back to do the score, kicks ass. The atmosphere of it is really good. I just have a problem with the writing and the story in itself. Um, it seems to me 40 years after the events of only the first one, where 4 people, if you include the tow truck driver,
Mhm.
dies, and Michael and Lori are no longer related. It seems 48 years later, like I was alluding to before,
What do you
Lori
mean
would
Michael
be,
and Lori weren't related?
because in this one, in these trilogy, they're not related. They've done away with the brother sister relationship. They're not related at all.
I thought no. I thought that
Yeah.
they were still.
They even tell you that in the movie because remember when the
Jesus
granddaughters
Christ. Okay, good. Sorry.
remember when the granddaughters with her
I,
friends
like
and
I
one
said,
of
I went on a binge and watched them
right.
all again like the last 2 days. So my brain's
So
not
in
all
this
here.
timeline they're not even related, which I don't think really adds or takes away anything from the story necessarily. Maybe it takes away because we've been conditioned for the last since
That
1981
they're
to think that
related.
yeah, exactly. In fact, I would say if you were going to take away that part of the story, you could have done that in Rob Zombies perhaps and not have the baby in the beginning and made it where they're not related. But in this timeline, I don't think it works. It's 40 years now. It seems to me she's not going to be out there acting like Sarah fucking Connor from Terminator 2. That's kind of like my thing. She's going to act more like she did in Halloween Ends. She's just going to be, she's moved on with her life. It's 40 years now. And it's like they did a reversal of that. And whereas in H2O, she felt more connected to that, to the original character. This one, it
Mhm.
didn't seem like her at all. And yeah, I couldn't stand her daughter. I couldn't stand her freaking son-in-law. What a dipshit he was,
I'm
Mister.
glad he
Well, I
died.
got peanut butter on my penis. Like I was waiting for this clown to. I was waiting for this fucking
And the
clown.
girl goes, "Oh my god, Dad."
Who fucking says that? And
Who
anyhow,
says that in front of their daughter?
exactly.
Nobody. No dad.
And how does this guy? I kept on waiting for this guy to like break his own neck trying to tie his shoelaces together or something, or tie his socks together, break his. What a dipshit he was. And this is where humor, where they tried to inject humor into the Halloween, and it doesn't work. With the cops talking about, oh, what'd you have for lunch? Oh, I got a brownie, or what the fuck is? I don't know. In
And
the
this is
granddaughter,
also where they start bringing back the Halloween that has nothing to Halloween 3, Curse, the Season of the Witch, that has nothing to do with Michael Myers at all. The only thing in that movie that will even show Halloween is at the very end when they put the mask on Tom Atkins, and they turn on the TV to play the commercial or whatever. Halloween's playing, but they bring those masks back, those silver shamrock masks.
yeah,
Everybody's wearing them.
right. Right, and we see it again in Kills, and
That's
and
the only critique I really
and
have on
there
that
are
one.
some scenes that are reminiscent of some of the other sequels that they're saying didn't happen in this, and I don't know, I also didn't like the granddaughter. I thought she was kind of a snob. I just found it.
She
I
is
thought
snobby.
she's a little bit more likable though by the time we get to Kills and Ends,
Mhm.
but I and the one Officer Hawkins. All right, this guy's been on the police force for 40 years. Why is this guy not sheriff by now? Why is he still just
Maybe
a
he didn't
patrol?
want to be. Maybe he didn't want the responsibility, especially
I
with
guess
Michael
not,
Myers running
because the
around.
real
I'm
sheriff
guessing so.
does dick shit in this entire movie. He just sits there with his cowboy hat on and does nothing. So is a useless character. And then we can get to Doctor whatever, Doctor
Oh my god, the one
Shivago
that ends
or
up
whatever
turning
his name is.
evil. What I don't know what his name is. I don't care about him at all.
The
I'm glad
fact
he
that this guy
dies.
starts putting on Michael's mask and going hooga booga or whatever, like, what the? I did like his death scene. I like the kills in this movie where his brains
The
get
kills are good. The
smashed.
kills are good. I do like the kills. Um. All right, we're gonna have to. I just realized what time it was.
Yeah, I know we are. I knew this was going to take a while. Imagine if everyone else had shown
There were
up.
13 of them. Jesus.
But getting the kills, I liked a little bit better just because it's so batshit crazy that I just enjoyed it for the wrong reasons. But you got like good old what's his face from Breakfast Club and National Lampoon's Vacation playing Tommy Doyle now doing a wrestling promo in the bar. 15 years or 40 years ago, Michael came after me. And I'm like, okay. And why is the nurse there from the first original Halloween and also Halloween 2? She was like the victim of a carjacking basically, and didn't even try and kill her. She's there and
It was at the very, very beginning. That's when we really learned that Michael could actually drive.
yeah, exactly. It's I will say this, I'm glad that Karen that was like my best scene when Karen gets killed. I just wish it was more brutal, but um
Right. You
then the
didn't
whole
see too
mob
much of
scene
it, I guess.
and then we
It
can't
could have been better.
and then of course we have like the whole evil dies tonight shit. And then they go after Danny DeVito
They go after the wrong person, and she keeps trying to tell him it's not Michael.
yeah, how do you mistaken a guy who looks like Danny DeVito from playing the Penguin from Batman
Penguin, yeah, he's
Returns?
got the hair.
They showed up. There's a scene in the bar. They show like a scene. This is what Michael looks. They blurred it
Look
out
like,
for the
yeah.
movie. Ain't him. You got the wrong guy. It's
I
like
mean, he's a lot taller.
it's
Yeah,
just.
the guy did. He does kind of look like Danny DeVito in the Penguin.
And then you got the two guys living in the Myers. For stars, why is this house still standing? Why is two people moving into the house?
I
It's not
love
like
how they redecorated it.
yeah,
They did a good
they
job of
did a fine
redecorating
job.
it.
And I like the characters. It's just so off. Their characters were so off from the rest of the tone of the movie. I like the characters themselves. That great.
I think they.
I'm all
I
for
think like again,
inclusion.
it all goes back to like this. Sorry, I'm like trying to wipe the smoke away, but I think it all goes back to trying to like catch up to the times, the generation, and everything.
Well, I'm fine
I
with
think
that.
that's more what they were. I don't know. I liked their characters.
I
But
like
yeah,
the characters. Yes.
there were a few things that really had nothing to do with the storyline
Mhm.
that I mean, you wonder why it's going on.
And the characters they did bring back from like they did. Devontae mentions they brought back Sheriff Brockett just to be useless and ends up dying at the very end. Um, when they had that whole mob that's surrounding Michael and he comes out and starts going all John Wick on everybody or whatever. And you even had one lady with the freaking armed with a clothes iron in the background. Like,
Man, have you ever gone through all the movies and like seen the ways that like the weapons that Michael have used and the ways that he's actually like been
he's never
tried
used a
like people have
clothes
tried
iron.
to He's never used a clothes iron, but he's used a few things. I had a list. I was going through all of them and like everything that he used and everything that's been used on him. Wait a minute,
And
let's hear. When he goes into that, isn't this the one where he falls into the well? No, this isn't the one where he falls into the well.
that's
Which one
in
is that?
Halloween Ends, which we can talk a little bit more. I mean,
Oh,
Alistair
okay.
gave his part on it. But getting to Halloween Ends, I don't think there's any more to say about kills. Just evil dies tonight. They kill the wrong. Oh, Lee Roselle has joined us. Good friend of the show. Danny DeVito stood in on as Michael as the Force Stunt series in Halloween 5. Well, I'm glad Lee's here joining us as well. Hope to see you in a few weeks, maybe. But anyhow, getting to Halloween Ends, it's like I don't know. You know what? I don't absolutely hate the movie. I actually probably like it better than the first two. I still don't like it because I like the maybe I like kills the best out of these particular three. I just
Uh-huh.
think David Gordon Green and Danny McBride should never be allowed towards
I feel
another
like they
movie
could have
series
used a
ever.
different character for Corey, but I feel like at that time Michael had just been through so much and he was weak, just like Lori was kind of like, well, she portrayed to be kind of like weak and fragile and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And like I mean, she saw like in his eyes like what she saw in Michael's eyes.
Yeah.
And so I feel like in a way they kind of wanted to show that, it could be more than just him, like, the boogeyman in town. And I don't know,
Like I said, it might have worked better had it been the first part, if they had used that concept to start this trilogy
it,
with.
like like on Halloween. Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with you there. Like had they had taken that one
Mhm.
and like put it like, because it does kind of seem kind of separate. It's got the same characters in the same timeline,
Right.
but it does seem kind of separate. So like had they have like this been like one of the guys that the granddaughter had met, you know even if they had done it in
Yeah.
Halloween Kills, but I still love Halloween Ends. I think
Okay.
I mean I like the town lynching when Michael actually they put him in the grinder.
I wanted to see him wake up right at the last second and grab Lori and drag her into the grinder with him.
Oh,
Because at
you're
the end of
evil.
Kills, she even says it. She goes, I will take his head even if it means like losing my head or something like that. Like she's insinuating that she would sacrifice herself to kill Michael once and for all, and they
Huh.
pussed out on that in the end. I thought. And then why is that one old lady still alive? She had in Kills, she had like a fluorescent bell
Oh,
shoved in her
fluorescent. Oh,
throat.
yeah. And it took me
How the
forever
fuck
to
is she
realize
still alive?
who she even was. And that lady at the grocery store, I hate how like everybody blames Lori. Like you taunted him, da, da, da,
Yeah.
da. And because of that, my sister can't talk. First of all, she has nothing to do with that. I
Blame
mean, but
Dr.
like,
Zhivago
is
or whoever it
she
was
went
that
through
fucking.
an artery in her neck? I mean, it showed how much blood was coming out. How is she alive?
I don't know. You're not supposed to survive from that. That's like if her husband, who was also killed in Kills, had like got stabbed like 12 times or whatever from 12
Or
different
that
knives,
guy that was
came
dressed up
out.
as a doctor and had a knife like through his like head. It went through his like eye
Well,
and
I'm
like
still
through
alive. I
into
just
his
have a
brain. And
little
he's like,
eye
I'm so alive.
infection. Well, it's like the character Officer Hawkins. How the fuck is he still alive in Halloween Kills? Like had like a fucking. I swear, it's like they like we're just gonna. What is this? A Marvel movie? We're just gonna bring people back from the dead. We went back in time with the fucking stones or whatever and
I
brought them
think he
back
was
in
like,
life.
I think that was like the easiest one that like out of like everybody that died like in Halloween Kills, they had to like just to make that scene, they had to figure out which one to resurrect. So they didn't
Yeah,
choose a good one.
Devontae in the chat's like, yeah, he kind of agrees that that lady still being alive, Sandra was the character's name,
It's
was a bit of a joke. And
impossible.
and yes, I'm a also Devontae, I'm familiar with Dave McCrae's channel. He knows about everything there is to know about Halloween, and he suggested that someone should have just pushed Lori in the chopper with Michael or whatever. But here's what I was like holding back on. What they should have done for the last movie. This is what I want to see. It sounds like they're going to do like a Halloween TV series, and I don't know. Here's what I want to see. I want to see a Halloween multiverse movie where you take all these timelines, merge
Not
them
connect them.
together, just merge it. So you got 4 or 5 different Michael Myers running around killing people. You've got 2 or 3 different Laurie Strodes together. The
You're
Force
like Doctor Strange on them.
exactly. We can even maybe we can like loan Doctor Strange Benedict Cumberbatch for like 5 minutes from Disney just to be in this movie, just to introduce how all these timelines come together. You've got all these different Laurie Strodes, these different Dr. Loomises, different Annies, different this and that. And this is how the movie ends. The Michaels end up killing everybody except for a few people in the bar. The 4 or 5, so you got like the OG Michael, you have Tyler Maine Michael, James Jude Courtney Michael, maybe a few of the other Michaels. They walk into a bar, they sit at a table together. Sitting at the bar is Tom Atkins' character, having a beer, flirting with the waitress.
You just really wanted him to come back.
Sitting next to Buster Rhymes, who's also sitting, and all of a sudden, the Halloween 3 annoying jingle Shamrock thing comes
The
on,
Silver Shamrock.
and the 4 Michaels, their faces melt, and then both Buster Rhymes and Tom Atkins do a shot together, and Buster Rhymes turns around and goes, "Trick or treat, motherfucker!" End credits. There's the next Halloween movie.
There you go. That's the movie we should make. I got the mask.
There you go. I had actually, you know what?
We'll just get together. I'll do the effects. Alistair can write it with you writing
I
it.
can
Y'all
write
can both
it.
get together
Well,
on that. Yeah, or
here's
you
the
can do the
on a like
good.
a serious note, the first thing I wrote before I start published, before I wrote my first original book, I wrote a fan fiction story that was a crossover between Halloween and Hellraiser. It's not as batshit crazy as what I just talked about, but maybe I should have wrote that too. But I'll
Write a
like
book.
one of these days I'll send you the manuscript. It was just something I did
There
for
you go.
fun.
Send it to me. You have
It
my
was like a
address.
it was like a kind of like thing I did for practice. So it goes off of Halloween 4, and Jamie's like in the insane asylum, and she gets let out, but she's under the care of Kirsty from Hellraiser, and it's I kind of combine shit
You
together in
know
a way.
that it kind of reminds me of Rachel. Those two characters, Christy and Rachel,
Well, in
they
this
remind me a
one
lot of
here
each
too,
other.
Rachel's still alive because I ignored 5 and 6. So Rachel's still alive, and Kirsty, basically after the end of Hellraiser 2, Kirsty and Tiffany they go to go to medical school, and they basically become interns under Dr. Loomis. So that's how I kind of tied things together
Tie them
there.
together.
And
Yeah, send it to me.
it was Dr. Chenard from Hellraiser 2 that introduced the box to Michael as a kid in the hospital, and that's what makes him supernatural and super powerful. Is this he has like the curse of the Leviathan, so I kind of tied that together. One of these days I'll email you the story I have written for that. But yeah, I'm gonna look in the chats here. I actually have not had this much interaction here, but Devontae goes, was always Lori's daughter and vice versa. Lori was mind wiped to forget Michael was her brother. Also, oh, he's like giving what he thinks. He wrote some scripts too. I wrote 4 scripts merging all the movies from 1978's continuity to one timeline. Cochran being the guy who in
Yeah,
Halloween 3, the old
Cogran,
crazy
yeah,
Irish guy.
the Irish evil guy and Season of the Witch.
Yeah, erase people's minds, and Michael rampages after Halloween 6 and Halloween Resurrection, and Karen, an orphan, was made to believe she was always Lori's daughter, and vice versa. Oops, lost her, but we'll go ahead. Lori was mind wiped to forget Michael was her brother, also survived Halloween Resurrection. Marion was always resurrected by Cochrane to look over Michael at Smith's Grove. Interesting story. Oh, there's Mindy.
Out.
Yeah, you're back now. I got you back. No, he was
Sorry.
like just giving his synopsis that he used to that Lori forgot that she had a
You
the daughter Jamie.
when I was
Yeah.
when I was watching them or whatever, like I actually I'm not, you know me, I'm not a writer at all, but like I
Right.
came up with a theory of how to like merge all of them together.
Yeah.
That will have to be for another time.
Exactly. So okay, so I think we hit every single Halloween movie.
What?
Yes.
Yep, we got all of
Yay.
them.
Thanks for Alistair for joining us earlier. Thanks for our audience here. It looks like we had Devontae, Travis, and other, and also Lee joined in as well. I know
Awesome.
Bertrand. I know she'll watch it later, but she's at the Stanley Hotel having probably doing some costume party. I'm gathering. I'm sure I'll see it on Slasher tomorrow when she posts the photos there. But Mindy, go ahead and tell everyone your name of your channel real quick.
So mine is Mindy's Monster House Chronicles of Horror, and I have been delaying putting anything on there recently just because my child's been very sick the past few weeks. But I will be posting some stuff hopefully here in the next couple of weeks. I do have some shorts on there of the horror art that I do. And I do everything from building my sets, building my props, making my costumes, doing my special effects makeup. I even have a setup where I do my own photos. So yeah.
Yeah, I'll make sure after I need to hold on 1 second. I'm gonna put this in the chat here. Give me a second here, and then we'll sign off. Let me find your um find
Yeah, I think
the
I have like only 6 shorts on there,
oh,
but I've been doing this. I've been an artist for 25 years, but I started doing horror art. I didn't even know it was a thing. Um, I started doing it 4 years ago, so I have a lot of stuff that I really need to put on there. But you can also, if you are
oh,
a
absolutely.
slasher,
You're very
if you are into or if you're on slasher or whatever, my name is Sex Metal Harley Quinn Doll because Harley Quinn Doll is my alter ego. But I have you can look at my past posts and photos. I have a lot of my work on there. So
yeah, and you can also check her. I think it was like a few episodes ago. I had her one on one, and her YouTube channel is there too. So certainly, Travis Devante, check her YouTube channel out. If you're a big Hellraiser fan, her Hellraiser little
made my own.
photo shoot she does is fucking awesome. And I'm a huge Hellraiser fan, so I was gonna love that anyway. But yeah, everyone else that ends up watching later and those are watching now, please like, share, and subscribe. Have a happy Halloween, and thanks for tuning in. And we will. I'm gonna look at one more thing here, but I made it work. Oh, Devontae was also saying he wrote some scripts that also included Rob Zombie's version in there too.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, that would be bad. I've got to see that here at some point. I'd love to read that actually. So awesome. Well, we're gonna take off for tonight. Everyone else have a happy Halloween. I'm gonna have probably one more episode before I take a holiday break. But we'll see everyone and watch those horror movies and rock on, everyone. Good night.
All right.
All right. Don't leave.